Chapter 1363. Qin Zhao felt that the man looked familiar. Denver, show me his information. Ash Roford, a finance major from New York University. But what surprised Qin Zhao the most was his parole certificate. In other words, Ash Roford had a criminal record. Usually, most companies wouldn't hire someone with a criminal record. Plus, this job was an executive. Moreover, Ash Roford was still on parole. As long as they didn't break the law and didn't leave the city where they were detained, they could choose to work. But the chances of finding a job were very low. Which position are you interviewing for? Qin Zhao looked up at Ash Roford. When Ash saw Qin Zhao, he'd already given up hope. So, he was flustered by Qin Zhao's sudden question. His mind was a mess. Bant and Denver both shook their heads. Ash had good education and work experience, but his biggest problem was that he had a criminal record. America had always been abnormal when it came to people's rights. America had always been abnormal when it came to people's rights. Although they said that they wanted people's rights above all else, discrimination was still everywhere. Even people like Bant and Denver subconsciously rejected Ash Roford. Right now, Ash Roford's dressing was already very bad. Coupled with such an unconventional response, in their hearts, they had already excluded Ash Roford from the list. Sir, we'll let you know if there's any news. Next, please. Denver didn't give him any more chances. Continue with the interviews, Qin Zhao said. I'm going out for a walk. Qin Zhao left the office and chased after Ash. Wait. Qin Zhao stopped Ash Roford. Seeing Qin Zhao chase after him, Ash's expression grew ugly. Sir, have we met before? Qin Zhao asked directly. He didn't want to beat around the bush. He just wanted to get to the bottom of things. Ash bowed at Qin Zhao. I'm sorry, sir. I've done very bad things to you. Did I do something bad to myself? Qin Zhao was a bit surprised. There weren't many people in the world who could do something bad to him. As for this abject man in front of her, she really couldn't see how he had the ability to do anything bad to her. The more Qin Zhao thought about it, the more confused he became. He kept thinking that Ash Roford was related to the supernatural world. But no matter how he thought about it, he couldn't remember. At the airport in Hawaii, Ash Roford said. Qin Zhao suddenly remembered the bearded man who had held him hostage. Ash Roford was the bearded man who held him hostage at the airport in Hawaii. He used to have a big beard, but now was completely shaved. No wonder he felt that Ash Roford was very familiar, but he just couldn't remember where he had seen him before. At the time, Ash Roford had held him hostage and wanted to see his daughter. Actually, Qin Zhao didn't hate Ash Roford at all. It was the worst of his wretched luck that Ash Roford had taken him hostage on the spot. Even if Gimli didn't interfere, Ash Roford wouldn't be able to harm Qin Zhao. Moreover, Ash Roford had said that he wanted to see his daughter. Qin Zhao, the girl's slave, could empathize with her. Let's go, Qin Zhao said. I'll treat you to lunch. Ash Roford looked at Qin Zhao, rather hesitant. What? You don't want to go? Ash Roford looked at Qin Zhao. Right now, he really wanted someone to treat him to lunch. At noon, he bought a hamburger in town to fill his stomach. His body was a little weak now. I still have to go to other places for interviews, Ash Roford said. Qin Zhao looked at him. You know that you're still on parole. You can't find a job, at least not a good one. Then I have to work hard too, Ash Roford said. I don't have custody of my daughter, but if I can find a job that pays more than $1,000 a week, I can see my daughter once a month. You can't visit her if you don't have money? Qin Zhao really didn't understand. I'm still receiving welfare, Ash Roford said. Ash Roford said, if I can't find a job in 2 weeks, the judge will think that I'm a danger to society. So forget about visitation rights. I might have to go back to prison. It was very difficult for a parolee to find a job with a decent income. What did you do before? I was a stock analyst 3 years ago, but after I divorced my wife and lost custody of my daughter, I also lost my job. I've been living on welfare. What position are you interviewing for now? Sales manager, Ash Roford said. You have a tracking device on you, right? Qin Zhao asked. Ash Roford pulled up his pants. Qin Zhao saw that he was wearing a tracking device on his ankle. If he moved outside of Los Angeles, or even near the border, he might attract surveillance. Are you sure you can do this job? I studied financial management, Ash Roford said. Ash Roford said, I've worked in many companies as an HR manager, a finance manager, and a sales manager. But if the company wants you to go on a business trip, you can't even leave Chen Zhao said. It's not impossible, Ash Roford said. I need to apply to the police, and the company also needs to help me prove it, but I definitely can't leave the country. Chen Zhao had seen Ash Roford's file before. His file was indeed very outstanding. Usually, people like him wouldn't work at the brewery and wouldn't be able to stay either. The people who came for the interview today had decent qualifications, but half of them would leave in less than a year. For them, working in a brewery might just be a springboard, a place to gain experience. How many years are you sentenced to? 1 year, Ash Roford said. Chen Zhao took out his phone. Denver, there's someone for the sales manager position. To Ash's astonishment, Chen Zhao said, Let's go. Can you eat with me now? You're the boss here? Ash had thought that Chen Zhao was an executive here. But if he was just an executive, he wouldn't be able to get another executive position with just a phone call. Sir, thank you. I hope that you won't bring any trouble to my brewery in the next year. Is that okay? Chapter 1364. Ash Roford was starving. It was hard to starve to death in this country, but without money, one could really starve. Roford, how long has it been since you last ate? Ashford raised his head awkwardly and looked at Chen Zhao. He was still holding a sandwich covered in ketchup. His expression was awkward. Sorry, I'm really short on money recently. I only eat 1 meal a day. It's okay. Do you want more? If it's okay, give me 2 more burgers, beef burgers. Ashford didn't refuse. He really wanted to eat his fill. After all, he really didn't have much money left. I'll lend you this 1,000. Chen Zhao took out his wallet and tossed it on the table. He could also tell that Ash Roford was really poor. Chen Zhao waved at the waitress. A waitress walked up. Mr. Chen, what can I do for you? Sandwiches and beef burgers, please. Chen Zhao didn't come to this restaurant often, but he was quite famous in Mountain Town. A quarter of the town worked in his factory. Plus, Chen Zhao and Fei Lai usually drove the eye-catching Porsche 918 when they went out. It was hard for the people in town not to know him. Who didn't know the richest man in Mountain Town? Okay, please wait a moment. The rent in town is cheaper, Chen Zhao said. You can find a place to stay first. Mr. Chen, don't you blame me for what I did. I'm a father too. Chen Zhao didn't blame Ashford in the first place. Plus, there was nothing wrong with having Ashford work for him. He trusted Denver, but he still needed someone to watch over him. Chen Zhao would never overestimate human nature. Absolute power would only breed absolute corruption. If he couldn't control Denver, who knew if he'd changed the name of the brewery to Ashford? Legally, this couldn't happen. But there were always people in the world who could find loopholes in the law. It was highly possible that one's business would become someone else's without them knowing. Chen Zhao wasn't an expert in this, so he had to be careful. Just then his phone rang. Eat first. I need to take a call. Mr. Chen, please help yourself. Chen Zhao walked out of the restaurant and picked up the call. Hello, who is this? Hello, Mr. Chen. I'm the business manager of Seagate. My name is Oliver Lerby. Mr. Steven gave me your contact number. Mr. Steven said that you plan to book a yacht. Is that true? Yes. Our company currently has a few models of yachts. I will send them to you for you to take a look and choose from. I don't like those standard ones. I want a unique one. Can your company customize it? Sure, but a custom-made yacht will cost at least $30 million US. May I know how much Mr. Chen is planning to spend? $100 million US. Oliver Lawbill shuddered. A super yacht. This was a huge business. Even their Seagate Yacht Company, which had been established for more than 20 years, had only built 2 super yachts. One of them was custom-made by Steven last year. He did not expect Steven to introduce him to a second super client like this. Mr. Chen, when do you have time? Let's meet up. At the same time, I will bring my company's designers to discuss the yacht design with you. Tomorrow. Is that okay? Yes, of course. Oliver Lawbill said immediately. Even if Chen Zhao requested to meet in the middle of the night, he would bring the designers. The next day, Chen Zhao went to the headquarters of Seagate Yacht Company in Los Angeles as promised. Seagate was a European company. Europe was the largest yacht supplier in the world, even stronger than America. It wasn't that their technology was very good or that their technology was very high. It was because people thought that Europeans could make yachts like works of art with their artistic senses. Of course, Europeans were especially attentive to big yachts and super yachts. Anyone who could afford such a yacht was either rich or respectable. Therefore, yachts were made with the highest quality. Hello, Mr. Chun. I'm Oliver Labill. Oliver Labill had probably already gotten Chun Zhao's information from Stephen. When Chun Zhao stepped into the company, Oliver Labill and a group of designers were already waiting at the door. Europeans were not all arrogant. It depended on who they were dealing with. If they were dealing with a big client like Chun Zhao, they would kneel down and let Chun Zhao ride them even if he asked them to. Chun Zhao was invited into the meeting room. After everyone sat down, they started discussing with Chun Zhao. There was also a beautiful female secretary who poured tea for Chun Zhao from time to time. She would also throw flirtatious glances at Chun Zhao. This was probably Oliver Labill's idea. 4 custom-made yachts. The yacht company would first come up with the design plan, and then the buyer would pay the deposit. Seagate was no exception. They first asked about Chun Zhao's personal needs and preferences. What was the difference between a super yacht and a regular one? Apart from being big, the most important thing was that it could sail in the ocean. It wasn't like the yacht company could make it whatever Chun Zhao wanted. Yacht design was a very complicated project involving mechanics, physics, and dynamics. Just like an architect, there were many problems to consider. Yachts had a grading system too. They were graded by the International Sea Organization. There were 4 grades, A, B, C, and D. CEA was the highest grade. It could withstand wind above level 8 and waves below 4 meters. Currently, there were also Chinese manufacturers that had obtained CE certification. Super yachts were not in these 4 grades because in the deep ocean, wind and waves were basically level 8 and above. The first thing to consider for a super yacht was the client's requirements. Even if the client wanted a yacht that could withstand level 16 waves, the designer could design it, but it would definitely sacrifice the comfort of the yacht. In that case, it would be better to just buy an ocean boat. Therefore, the yacht designer had to combine a lot of data and the client's requirements to design. Although there were only 5 designers in the conference room, there were actually dozens of design teams behind these 5 designers. Their job was to improve and optimize the structure and aesthetics of a yacht as much as possible while meeting the client's requirements. Next was the engine. It could be said that every super yacht's engine was different. They were all specially designed and built to suit the super yacht. Since he had sailed many times last year and this year, Chun Zhao's first requirement was wind and wave resistance and comfort. As for the aesthetics of the hull, Chun Zhao had no idea for now. Chapter 1365. After leaving Seagate, Orf Colby personally walked Chun Zhao to the door. Chun Zhao liked Seagate yachts, but if they couldn't come up with a design that satisfied him, he might change companies. Therefore, before signing the contract, Orf Colby had to serve Chun Zhao like a grandson. After leaving Seagate, Chun Zhao picked up his phone and dialed another number. Hey, Mr. Francis, are you free now? Of course. Where should we meet? The outdoor cafe on North Street. I'll be there in half an hour. Chun Zhao sat in the outdoor cafe. A while later, a man with messy hair sat before Chun Zhao. Hi, you Mr. Chun, right? I'm Francis Paco. Hi, Francis. Chun Zhao shook hands with Francis. I heard from Rasfa that you have a wide range of businesses, right? I do most of them. Francis scratched his already messy hair. There were oil stains on his suit, and he probably hadn't shaved for a few days. Francis seemed to notice Chun Zhao's gaze and grinned. You think I don't care about my appearance? Are you doubting my abilities? It seemed that it wasn't his first time in such a situation. He wasn't surprised by Chun Zhao's scrutinizing gaze. Chun Zhao tilted his head. He didn't doubt Francis's abilities, but he had bad breath. Let's get to the point, Chun Zhao said. Here's his information. Help me investigate the woman he's been seeing recently. The more detailed, the better. Here's a deposit of $10,000. If you can find something that satisfies me, I'll give you another $20,000. Chun Zhao said, I have a subordinate. He might have been tricked. Here's his information. Mr. Chun, you're wrong. My price might not be $30,000. Francis reached for the $10,000 bag. Chun Zhao suddenly pressed down on the bag. Fine, tell me how much. Francis pulled twice but didn't move the bag. It depends on the difficulty of the target. If it's a Hollywood star, it's not just $20,000. Since you don't think it's enough, our cooperation ends here. I'll find someone else, Chun Zhao said indifferently. At the same time, he took back the bag with the money. This coffee is on me. Goodbye. Don't. Wait. Francis clearly needed money. Seeing how Chun Zhao gave money so easily, he thought that he could put on airs and ask for more. In the end, Chun Zhao didn't fall for it all. He just turned around and left. Francis hurriedly pulled Chun Zhao back. I was joking. I'm very satisfied with this reward. Not just a Hollywood star. Even if you want me to investigate the person in the White House, I'll do it for you. Chun Zhao nodded. Oh, then help me investigate the one in the White House. Don't joke around, Mr. Chun. I'll try my best to find out what you want. Francis looked at Chun Zhao seriously. Then I'll wait for your good news. That deposit. Chun Zhao took out the money bag again and tossed it before Francis. Goodbye. Just then, Chun Zhao received another call from Rasfa. Chun, come to my house for a drink. Oh, I'm out of beer. Bring some over. Fuck, that beer is a trial product. We only made one batch. It'll be a while before it's officially produced. What do you want to get beer now? I don't have any. Chun Zhao had so many friends. 2 boxes for one person, 2 boxes for another person, and a few dozen boxes from the headquarters of the association. They were long gone. Unless Chun Zhao had the beer factory open the production line now. But was that possible? The first batch was to check if there were any problems with the production line, as well as the taste and so on. Are there only 3 boxes of beer in your trial product? No, there are a few hundred boxes. Most of them are used for promotion. Then bring some more of that meat, Rasfa said greedily. I'm out of that meat too. I still have some octopus fish. Do you want some? Okay. Octopus is fine too. Chin, where did you get your supply from? Rasfa asked, unwilling to give up. I can't tell you. I can't break the rule. Chun Zhao first went home and changed his truck. Then he chose some ingredients. However, the ingredients he chose were the kind that couldn't be seen clearly. For example, octopus. Chun Zhao would only cut off a portion. Those who didn't know would only think that the octopus was huge. Chun Zhao still had an even better ingredient, the undying bird. However, Chun Zhao didn't share it. Only the people of the association had eaten it. The undying bird could increase some magic power and physical fitness. It also had super high magic power, so it tasted better than regular magical creatures after cooking. Jerlin and Phalai both really liked the thick soup made from the undying bird's bones. Chun Zhao arrived at Rasfa's manor. Stephen was there too. Stephen, you're here again. Aren't you supposed to be in the studio? Chun Zhao remembered that before Stephen's last movie was released, Stephen had spent half a month editing the movie without sleep or rest. I have plenty of time now. I don't have to rush at all. Stephen was very relaxed. By the way, Stephen, the first trailer has been released. The response isn't that great, Rasfa said. We're still talking about the theaters. I don't care. That's your problem. We can't take less than 65% of the box office. That's hard. The theaters keep saying that it's not produced by the Big Six, so they insist on taking 40% of the box office. 40% of the box office? Those vampires. I definitely won't agree. It's my work. Isn't my name worth 65%? They think that your new movie has a similar theme to Furious Sea Police, so they think that you're relying on your past and won't be as successful as Furious Sea Police. Then they'll wait and see. Stephen yelled angrily. However, Stephen also knew that the theaters were the end of the movie industry. If they fell out, it wouldn't benefit anyone. There's no rush, Rasfa said. The release date isn't set yet. Plus, for countries, distribution companies have contacted PLM, wanting to import your movie. If they can't, Stephen said, then we'll release it overseas first. Chapter 1366. The 3 ate as much as they could today. They didn't even drink much. It wasn't that Rasfa's family didn't have good wine. There were still a few bottles of purple brew in the cellar. However, Rasfa couldn't bear to take them out. He wasn't used to other wines either. Stephen's mouth was sore from all the talking, but he still didn't let Rasfa take out the purple brew no matter how he mocked him. Stephen and Rasfa mostly talked about the new movie. Chun Zhao would occasionally add a sentence, but most of the time, he couldn't. Otherwise, they would talk about which female star was pretty and who had done some shady deals. Only then did Chun Zhao realize that these two were really gossipy. "Rebecca, you've been waiting for me for a long time, right?" Murphy hurriedly got out of the car. He looked at Rebecca, who was sitting on a chair in the park. Rebecca said with a sweet smile, "No, I just finished filming. I'll definitely come earlier next time," Murphy said. "Are you still working the night shift?" Rebecca asked. "Yes," Murphy said helplessly. "I only have night shifts. Let's go for a walk." Looking at Rebecca's back, Murphy wanted to hold her hand several times, but he didn't have enough courage. Rebecca seemed to notice Murphy behind her. She turned around to look at him and then reached out to hold his hand. Murphy shuddered. It was probably his first time holding a girl's hand in his life. Even though they'd gone on a few dates, he still couldn't make any progress. This was unimaginable in this country. In America, when a couple officially started dating, the girl would say that she'd already canceled the apartment and moved to his place today before the guy even said anything. This was the norm in this society. It wasn't like Murphy and Rebecca, who played innocent for so long. There weren't many people in the park. Now that it was evening, there were even fewer people. Just then, there was a flash in the distance. Rebecca and Murphy both noticed the flash. They turned around and saw a figure hurrying away. "Who's that?" "Paparazzi." Rebecca's expression darkened. "Huh? What do we do? Will you be exposed? Will your company give you trouble? What do we do now?" Murphy was at a loss. "It's all my fault. I'm sorry for getting you into trouble. What should I do now?" Rebecca smiled and said, "It's okay. The paparazzi probably didn't get my face, but we can't stay here. Let's go somewhere else." "Yes, yes." Murphy nodded repeatedly. "Where are we going now?" "Let's find a restaurant. I haven't finished eating yet." "Sorry, it's all my fault for coming too late. But the paparazzi might take pictures of us in a normal restaurant," Rebecca said. "Then let's go to a high-class restaurant. Those paparazzi definitely won't be able to get in." Murphy braced himself and said. However, he was calculating in his heart how much salary he had left for this month. "I've had enough of this life. I don't want to be a star anymore," Rebecca said. "Even when I'm with you, I have to be sneaky. It's like I'm a thief. I've had enough of that. It's better if you don't become a celebrity." Murphy didn't know how to respond to Rebecca's complaints, so he could only go along with her. "But I forget it." Rebecca shook her head. "What happened?" "Nothing." Rebecca shook her head again. The two of them found a restaurant. Looking at the prices on the menu, Murphy felt dizzy. The minimum cost here was $1,000. Murphy had a toothache. "Murphy, don't order too much," Rebecca said. "I don't have much appetite." It wasn't Murphy's first time going out with Rebecca. He'd seen her appetite before. Although Rebecca had a slender figure, she wasn't very tall either. She was only 1.62 meters tall, but her appetite was even bigger than Murphy's, very big. Murphy's staple food was blood, so he didn't usually eat outside. Occasionally, he would eat the cows in Chun Zhao's house and suck some blood from them. Of course, he could also eat regular food, but he didn't really eat much. Rebecca was different. Her appetite was 3 or 4 times that of a regular person. So, when Rebecca said she didn't have much appetite, it was only relative. Murphy still ordered a table full of dishes. Rebecca didn't stand on ceremony with Murphy either. Whenever Rebecca ate, she didn't look like a lady at all. She didn't look like a celebrity at all. Murphy really didn't have an appetite. He watched Rebecca eat with admiration in his eyes. "Why aren't you eating?" "Oh." Murphy took a casual bite, but he still couldn't move his eyes away from Rebecca. Rebecca wiped her face clean and returned to being a lady. When it was time to pay, Murphy looked at the $1,325 bill and took out his card helplessly. Thankfully, he'd saved some money after he started working. Otherwise, he'd probably max out his credit card for this 1-month date. "Let's go watch a movie," Rebecca said. Murphy glanced at the time and looked at Rebecca awkwardly. "Rebecca, I have to go to work." "Murphy, what exactly do you do? Why are you working at this time?" "I'm a security guard for a museum. The museum is open during the day." I'm only needed to patrol at night. I see. Then be careful. Rebecca held Murphy's right hand. If there's any danger, don't be rash. Okay, got it. Murphy felt that his whole body had softened. Feeling the warmth from Rebecca's hand and the gentle look in her eyes, Lin Sanjiu felt a chill down his spine. Murphy didn't know how he got home. After sending Murphy to the car, Rebecca's face immediately darkened. She sensed that someone was watching her. Who was watching her? Rebecca couldn't find anyone who was watching her. Could it be someone Murphy hired? Impossible. That idiot didn't notice at all. Also, who was the person who took pictures of her in the park? Who was investigating her? After Murphy left, Rebecca didn't have to pretend to be a celebrity anymore. She just walked on the street. She wanted to draw out the person who was watching her. Just then, a car stopped next to Rebecca. Rebecca stopped in her tracks and turned her head to look. Asalisa. Rebecca looked at Asalisa in surprise. Why are you here? I should be the one asking you why you're here. Rebecca looked at Asalisa's car. Is this your car? You seem to be rich. Asalisa stared at Rebecca. Are you still doing what you used to? That's all I can do. Leave Los Angeles. Don't do that in Los Angeles, Asalisa said in a warning tone. Why do you care? Rebecca looked at Asalisa angrily. You have no right to. Chapter 1367. Rebecca put her hands on the door of Asalisa's car. She suddenly grinned viciously. Asalisa, are you molesting me? I'm reminding you. I don't need reminding. Rebecca looked at Asalisa coldly. Los Angeles isn't your place. Rebecca's hands suddenly tightened, and Asalisa's car door was deformed. Asalisa frowned. You're still as violent as ever. Rebecca suddenly reached into the car and grabbed Asalisa's collar. Is this the first day you've met me? Asalisa stared back at Rebecca fearlessly. You'd better let go. Asalisa, you're still the same as before. All you could do is talk. I'm not who I used to be, said Asalisa. So what? Do you think? Rebecca was full of disdain for Asalisa. Asalisa's figure began to disappear, and Rebecca felt her hand loosen. She couldn't touch Asalisa's collar anymore. Rebecca looked around. Asalisa, are you still the same as before? You only know how to hide? Suddenly, a bloody mark appeared on Rebecca's neck. Rebecca snorted. She knew what Asalisa was capable of. However, in her eyes, Asalisa was a coward who only knew how to hide and run. But today, Asalisa had actually dared to attack her. Suddenly, Rebecca sensed danger and immediately took 2 steps back. But the next moment, Rebecca felt a stab of pain in her back. Rebecca angrily swung her fist in a 360-degree arc. However, she only swung her fist and didn't touch anything. The next moment, another bloody mark appeared on Rebecca's wrist. Although Asalisa's 3 attacks hadn't hurt her seriously, it was a great humiliation for the hot-tempered Rebecca to be attacked and injured by a woman who was as timid as a mouse. Asalisa, you're still as cowardly as before. Do you dare come out? The next moment, a tuft of Rebecca's hair fell. Rebecca reached out to catch her hair, a little surprised. Leave Los Angeles, or it'll be your face next time. Asalisa's voice sounded in Rebecca's ears. Rebecca swung her fist again, but again she missed. Suddenly, Rebecca saw a man standing in front of her. The man carried a briefcase and wore a suit and tie. He looked like a white-collar worker. Rebecca immediately charged at the man. The man did not seem to know what was going on. Rebecca reached for the man, but the next moment, Rebecca felt pain on her face. She looked at the man again and took a few steps back. Rebecca was enraged and reached out to grab the man again. Not only did he fail to catch her, he even received a slap. Rebecca picked up speed and grabbed again. This time, she saw the man's movements clearly. She took a step back and slapped him. She did see it clearly, but the man's movements were too fast. She couldn't keep up at all, and her body couldn't react in time. Rebecca was slapped again. Covering her face, she stared at the man in shock. This man wasn't an ordinary person either. He was a spiritualist too. Clearly, he was a spiritualist of a completely different element. She used a strength-enhancing spell, while the man used a speed-enhancing spell. She was at a disadvantage in front of him. Rebecca took a few steps back and stared at the man in front of her. This man and Asalisa were probably in cahoots. She couldn't do anything to Asalisa anymore. With this man around, her chances of winning were even lower. Rebecca turned around and left without any hesitation. Seeing that Rebecca had left, Asalisa finally came out of invisibility. "Ungalit, why are you here?" Asalisa asked. "I live nearby and saw you and that woman," Ungalit said. "Who's that woman?" "My sister," Asalisa said. "Your sister? She doesn't look like your sister at all. She looks like a lunatic," Ungalit said. "She's a lunatic." Asalisa didn't dare tell him about Rebecca's glorious past. If the association knew that such a dangerous person existed in Los Angeles, they would definitely take action or eliminate her. Asalisa had thought that after 10 years, Rebecca might have changed. She didn't expect that Rebecca would still be as violent as before. That made Asalisa even more worried. If Rebecca did anything outrageous in Los Angeles, she probably wouldn't be able to protect her. In fact, if Rebecca were to meet her own leader, she would most likely die. She looks quite violent. "You'd better find her quickly and get her out of Los Angeles," said Ungalit. Asalisa understood what Ungalit was trying to say. "Don't tell the chairman about this," said Asalisa. "Okay, I won't tell him." Ungalit nodded. "How about a drink somewhere?" asked Asalisa. Rebecca touched the wound on her neck. It had completely healed. That was the benefit of strengthening spells. She had super self-healing abilities. However, running into Asalisa here didn't make Rebecca feel very happy. She hadn't seen Asalisa for 10 years. Asalisa, who only knew how to hide and run in the past, didn't run anymore, but attacked her. Rebecca didn't expect that. His weak sister had actually undergone such a change. Also, she knew how to use her spells better than before. Could she really change so much in 10 years? Rebecca and Asalisa weren't real sisters. Their parents formed a new family, and they became sisters too. But a car accident took their mother's life, and their father's personality changed drastically. He drank, abused, and even tried to rape Asalisa. That was the first time Rebecca killed someone. Their father. They found the secret of magic in their mother's belongings, and Asalisa was the first to awaken. At the time, they didn't understand what the Night of Awakening was, but Rebecca had protected Asalisa through that horrible night without any magic. When Rebecca awakened, she also relied on her own strength to get through it. From then on, they relied on their magic and began a life of theft and robbery. Unlike the gentle and timid Asalisa, Rebecca was a thug and a murderer. As long as it was for money, she would stop at nothing, even murder. Chapter 1368. That's basically it. I haven't seen her in 10 years. Asalisa took a sip of her beer. "Looks like your sister is really dangerous," Ungalit said. "If I had known, I wouldn't have let her go. I would have forced her to stay." Asalisa had wanted to prevent Rebecca from falling into the hands of the association. But now that she thought about it, she was wrong. It would be better to keep Rebecca here and beg for her life. That way, Rebecca might not die. But if Rebecca killed someone in Los Angeles, Asalisa wouldn't even be able to ask for mercy. Then what should we do? Find her as soon as possible. She could do whatever she wants, but not in Los Angeles. Rebecca had always been a vigilant person. She didn't return to her place immediately, because she vaguely sensed that someone was following her. Was it the person who took pictures of her? Rebecca guessed. Rebecca took out a makeup box from her pocket and looked behind her through the mirror on the box. More than 20 meters behind him, there was a car that was driving very slowly following behind him. There was a lot of traffic on this road. She couldn't make a move here. She would do it in a more secluded place. Rebecca thought to herself. Francis, on the other hand, followed Rebecca carefully. He didn't think it was necessary to be careful when following a woman. He didn't know that Rebecca had already noticed him. He didn't even realize that he had been led to a secluded place by Rebecca. Rebecca felt that the time was right. She turned around and was about to make a move. Suddenly, she felt a strong sense of danger. Rebecca knew where the sense of danger came from. A sniper. She had been targeted by a sniper. Rebecca suddenly ducked. Then a bowl-sized hole appeared on the ground next to Rebecca, and the concrete floor was kicked up with dust. A van sped over, and two men in black suits and sunglasses got out. They held machine guns and fired at Rebecca. Duh. Rebecca reacted quickly and jumped into the bushes on the side of the road. The two shooters looked at each other. One of them carefully walked to the side of the road, holding the machine gun tightly. But at that moment, a hand reached out of the bushes and grabbed the shooter's face. The hand pulled forcefully, pulling the gunman into the darkness. There was a burst of gunfire in the darkness, and then there was silence. Suddenly, gunshots rang out from the darkness again. However, this time, the gunshot was not aimed at the interior but at the minivan. The driver of the minivan was killed on the spot. The remaining gunman cursed under his breath and quickly hid behind the car. The next moment, Rebecca dashed out of the darkness. She rammed straight into the van. Bang! The 2,000-kilogram van was knocked over, and the gunman hiding in the back was pinned to the ground. Rebecca turned to look at Francis' car. Francis was scared out of his wits. He immediately turned the steering wheel and fled. Rebecca wanted to chase after him, but the sniper fired again. Rebecca fell to the ground again. She could only watch as Francis escaped. She could only find the insidious sniper first. "Mr. Chun, it's me. I'm Francis." Francis was frightened tonight. He had originally thought that she was just an ordinary woman, but he didn't expect that woman to be so terrifying. As a private detective, he had met all kinds of people, even black, but he had never seen a real gunfight. It was too scary. How did the woman knock over the minivan? Did he see it wrong? Francis was still in a state of confusion. "Oh, Mr. Francis, did you finish the investigation so quickly?" "Investigate what? That woman is a killer. I saw her fighting with people on the road. She even killed 2 people. Killer?" Chen Zhao was surprised. Was the business of killers so widespread now? They were even in the business of deceiving people? As far as Chen Zhao knew, professional killers made much more than scammers. Was a small fry like Murphy really worth a professional killer putting down his identity to seduce? Francis spoke incoherently, and his words were contradictory. Chen Zhao could feel that Francis was really scared. "Continue investigating that woman for me," Chen Zhao said. No way. That woman is too dangerous," Francis shouted. "You took my money," Chen Zhao said. "I don't care. Anyway, I won't take this investigation again. Your $10,000 is my compensation." Francis decided to go back on his word. "Mr. Francis, you're afraid of that female killer. Do you think I'm easier to bully than her?" Chen Zhao didn't care how Francis felt. Since Francis had taken his money, he had to work for him. This was the rule. "I don't want to talk about this anymore. That's it." Francis hung up. Chen Zhao looked at the phone and turned to Fei Lai. "Fei Lai, I'm going out for a while. It's so late. Do you still have clients?" Murphy met a female scammer. "I found a private detective to investigate her, but he took my money and stood me up." "Then you should teach him a lesson," Fei Lai said, unconcerned. Francis was feeling uneasy at the moment. He didn't take Chen Zhao's threats seriously. Someone who could find a private detective like him to investigate probably didn't have any connections. At least, that was what he thought. What he really cared about was that woman, that terrifying woman. Would she find him? The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. No, he couldn't stay here. Francis decided to leave Los Angeles first. Francis hurriedly packed his luggage. But when he walked out of his house, he saw Chen Zhao standing beside his car. Francis gathered his courage and walked up. "Why are you here?" Bang! Suddenly, a streak of blood appeared on Francis' cheek. A bullet flew past his face and landed on the ground beside Chen Zhao. Francis let out a cry and fell to the ground in fright. "Mr. Francis, I told you that you'd regret it." Chen Zhao stood before Francis. Francis held his head, not daring to look up. "No one has ever dared to take my money and stand me up. I don't know who gave you the courage. I was wrong. Sorry, I was wrong. Please let me go." Chapter 1369. If I can spend $30,000 to get you to investigate a woman's identity, I can spend $300,000 to buy your head. Chen Zhao stood up from the car and walked past Francis. Francis wanted to cry, but had no tears. He thought that Chun Zhao had no one to rely on in Los Angeles because he was Asian. He didn't expect Chun Zhao to be so ruthless. If the sniper had missed just a little, Francis' head would probably have been destroyed. After leaving Francis' field of vision, Chun Zhao gestured at Klaus, who was hiding in the dark. Klaus came out with a sniper rifle. "Klaus, did you do it on purpose?" "That's more threatening." Klaus chuckled. Chun Zhao had originally wanted Klaus to shoot Francis to scare him. In the end, Klaus showed off his marksmanship. Even Chun Zhao felt that it was a close call. "By the way, President, I need to take some time off," Klaus said. "Huh? What for?" "Something happened to a comrade. I received a call for help from his family." Chun Zhao thought about it and nodded. "Have everyone in the Lightning team follow. If there's anything you can't handle, contact me. Everyone in the society will support you." "Okay." Klaus nodded. "But I'm leaving tomorrow. The private detective won't be able to keep an eye on me." "It's fine, just a small problem," Chun Zhao said indifferently. "Where are you going?" "Let me tell you first in case I can't find you." Did Rebecca know who had just attacked her? It was her old enemy. Back in New York, she'd attacked a mafia family. He robbed the Blackhand family of $20 million worth of gold and killed the heir of their family. All these years, Rebecca had been hiding everywhere. She'd always been low-key to avoid the mafia. It wasn't her first time being attacked like this. No matter how low-key she was, there would always be some traces. It seemed that she had to leave LA again. Rebecca was a little hesitant. "That boy, Murphy, should I go and say goodbye to him?" In this cold world, perhaps only that man could bring her a little bit of warmth. That shy big boy, just a little bit of sweet talk would make him blush. Pure and kind, he was probably the last person in Rebecca's life that she wanted to hurt. However, in the end, they were not the same kind of people. Rebecca sighed. After hesitating for a while, Rebecca finally picked up the phone. "Murphy, are you working now?" "Yeah." "Rebecca, you haven't rested yet." I miss you," Rebecca said suddenly, but it seemed like she was speaking from the bottom of her heart. Even Rebecca felt shy. She had never said these words to anyone. Me too. You're alone in the museum. Aren't you afraid of the dark?" Rebecca did not know what to say to Murphy. He swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. After a few times, he kept avoiding the main topic. "Rebecca, actually, I have something to tell you." "What is it?" "Actually, I'm not a security guard at the museum. I'm a security guard for my boss." "Oh." Rebecca didn't care. "I'll be helping the boss patrol his private territory tomorrow night," Murphy said. "Okay." Rebecca had wanted to say it over the phone, but she could not bring herself to do it. After thinking about it, Rebecca decided to see Murphy one last time. She wanted to say what needed to be said in person. "Murphy, are you free tomorrow?" Yes. Murphy replied immediately. "Then let's meet at North Coast Beach." "So remote?" "Oh, right. It's not convenient for you to expose yourself." "What time should we meet?" Murphy asked. "Tomorrow at 4. "Okay, I'll be there on time." North Coast Beach. In the 50s and 60s of the last century, it was a medium-sized fishing village. But in the 60s, the famous Memphis tsunami hit here, and the entire fishing village was almost wiped out. This disaster was basically one of the worst in American history because it happened at night. The cause of the tsunami was a magnitude 12 earthquake in the deep sea of the Pacific Ocean. Everyone in the fishing village was sleeping at the time. Because of the rainy weather, none of the fishermen went out to sea. As a result, the entire fishing village was wiped out. Of the 350 people in the village, apart from 4 young people in school, there were no other survivors. After that, the entire fishing village was abandoned. Although some developers later wanted to develop this place into a commercial beach, they all gave up in the end for inexplicable reasons. Rebecca did not like this place because it was still filled with the strong smell of death. Even after decades, it was still there. Rebecca had heard that this place was haunted, but she did not find any spirits after walking around the ruins. Rebecca sat on a stone slab by the sea and watched the turbulent waves. The sun gradually set, and Rebecca heard the rumbling of a car. Rebecca turned around and saw that it was a convertible. She was confused and a little wary. However, After the car stopped and she saw Murphy in the car, Rebecca finally let down her guard. "Murphy, whose car is this?" "I borrowed it from a boss," Murphy said. "Your boss actually lent you such a nice car?" Rebecca looked at the black sports car and licked her lips inadvertently. Rebecca's occupational habit was acting up again. She was used to robbing people, but she remembered that this was Murphy's borrowed car. If she stole it, Murphy would be the unlucky one. Rebecca gave up on the idea. "Your boss is very rich, right?" "Not just rich." Murphy shuddered. Rebecca saw the fear on Murphy's face. "Are you scared of your boss?" Yes, he's very scary." Murderous intent flashed in Rebecca's eyes. "Is your boss fierce?" "Super fierce. In my eyes, he's a demon king." "Then you've never seen a demon king." Rebecca smiled. She was thinking that before she left, she should help Murphy teach his boss a lesson. Looking at Rebecca's smile, Murphy was a little dazed. "Do you want me to teach your boss a lesson for you?" He. "Stop joking. Nobody in the world can teach him a lesson." "Not necessarily." Rebecca smiled casually. "Murphy, I'm leaving Los Angeles." Chapter 1370. Murphy still didn't understand. He thought that Rebecca was going to a faraway place to film. Rebecca was put in a difficult position. Should she tell him directly? Or should she keep him in the dark forever? Suddenly, Rebecca looked up. "Murphy, come with me." No, no, no. If I skip work, the boss will kill me. If he dares to bully you, I'll kill him." Rebecca's eyes flashed with fierceness. Murphy was shocked, even though Chun Zhao wasn't beside him right now. Whenever he thought of how terrifying Chun Zhao was, Murphy felt terrified. Who knew if Chun Zhao had some kind of spell that could spy on people who were bad-mouthing him behind his back? "Murphy, I'll tell you directly," Rebecca said. "I'm leaving L.A., and I might never come back." In the end, Rebecca told the truth. No matter how she beat around the bush, she still had to tell the truth. Since that was the case, she might as well tell the truth. Murphy jumped up and stared at Rebecca with widened eyes. "Why? Why?" Murphy asked 2 whys in a row. Murphy felt as if his heart had been pulled hard, and his heart ached terribly. This was Murphy's first relationship. He never thought that it would end like this. "Murphy, come with me. Let's leave here together." Rebecca grabbed Murphy's hand. Murphy felt his limbs go cold. He shook his head hurriedly. No, no. I can't leave without the boss' permission. He'll kill me. He'll really kill me. And you, give me his address. I'll talk to him." "No, I really don't want it." Murphy pulled Rebecca. He didn't dare to tell the truth. Back then, he'd almost been killed because he'd found out Chun Zhao's secret. He didn't want Rebecca to be in danger too. "I don't understand. What are you afraid of?" Rebecca was angry at Murphy's cowardice. Suddenly, Rebecca's arm was hammered, and a flower of blood bloomed. Then there was a gunshot. Rebecca reacted quickly and immediately pulled Murphy to the ground. "Rebecca, what's going on? You're wound." "Shut up." Rebecca was very upset. She crouched on the ground and looked around. Bang! The ground around Rebecca and Murphy kicked up gravel. The shot missed. It wasn't the original sniper who fired the shot, but someone else. Rebecca had to focus and observe the sniper's position. But before they could find the sniper, they saw several gunmen from the Black Hand coming through the ruins. Not just that, there are still people in the bushes behind us. There were more gunmen. Snipers. 1, 2. So far, only 2 have been found. Rebecca had a bad feeling about this. "Get in the car. Let's get out of here." Rebecca shouted. "I'll hold them off." Murphy was so frightened that he hugged his head and curled up on the ground. Rebecca, on the other hand, disappeared into the bushes. Then, gunshots came one after another from the ruins. If Murphy's mother knew that Dracula's son was such a coward, he wondered if she would be so angry that she would rush over and strangle him to death. He let the woman he liked charge into the fray while he lay on the ground like an ostrich. But it couldn't be helped. Murphy had too little experience. The only time was in the crypt demon lair. But it wasn't him who attacked. It was Chun Zhao who arrived. Murphy suddenly thought that he could ask Chun Zhao for help. Murphy immediately took out the phone. Just then, a strong hand grabbed Murphy by the collar and lifted him up. "Murphy, why are you still here?" Murphy looked up. It was Rebecca. But at the moment, Rebecca was covered in blood. Some of it belonged to the enemy, while others belonged to her. "Rebecca, I'm looking for the boss. He'll come and save us. Get in. Let's go." Rebecca threw Murphy into the car. Because of the excessive blood loss and the strenuous exercise, Rebecca's heartbeat was beating unnaturally. "I'll drive. I'll drive." Looking at Rebecca, Murphy knew that she couldn't drive. Da-da-da. Just then, gunshots came from behind again. The windshield and the car had a few holes. Lowering his head, Murphy floored the gas pedal. Many headlights appeared behind them at the same time. Thankfully, the Porsche 918 was much more powerful than the pursuing car. But Rebecca didn't look so good. Enduring the pain, she dug out the bullet embedded in her wound. If she didn't, her wound wouldn't heal by itself. But she couldn't do anything about the blood loss. "Oh no!" Rebecca suddenly shouted. "We can't go any further. There's no road ahead." The coastal road wasn't long. The desert was right in front of them. Before Murphy could react, the car drove into the gravel at the end of the road. The distance that the sports car had created earlier was gone. The sports car could only run on flat roads. It couldn't run on sand at all. "Let's go." Rebecca pulled Murphy out of the car. They couldn't turn back now. They could only run deeper into the sand. Rebecca looked back again. It seemed that the Mafia family was determined to kill her this time. They actually sent so many people. There were at least 30 cars parked at the end of the road. There were probably close to 100 people. If it was just a few people, she could easily take care of them. She could barely kill a dozen or so people. But if there were 100 people, there was really nothing she could do. "Murphy, let's go separately," Rebecca said. "No, I'm going to send you out. You'll only be a burden if you stay here." Rebecca didn't want to drag Murphy down. That's what they say on TV. "Anyway, I won't leave you," Murphy said. "Murphy, don't you understand? You and I aren't the same kind of people." Murphy turned around and looked at Rebecca with a serious look in his eyes. Actually, I'm a vampire. My full name is Murphy Dracula." "What?" Rebecca looked at Murphy in shock. "Vampires? Are you kidding?" "No, I'm serious." Murphy opened his mouth and revealed his 2 canines. "Look, my teeth. Are there really vampires? You're a spiritualist. Don't you know?" Murphy asked in confusion as he supported Rebecca. "I don't have much contact with other spiritualists," Rebecca said. Suddenly, Rebecca's legs turned to jelly, and she almost fell to the ground. "Are you too tired to walk? I'll carry you." Murphy pulled Rebecca behind him, and Rebecca felt a sense of security. At least, Murphy was the same as her. Do vampires have any special abilities? For example, turning into bats or flying? Chapter 1371. "Murphy, you're tired too, right?" Rebecca looked at the sweaty Murphy. Carrying a person in the desert, even though Murphy's stamina was extraordinary, it was impossible for him not to be tired. "It's okay. I can keep going." Puff! Suddenly, blood blossomed from Murphy's left thigh. "Another sniper." "Ah!" Murphy cried out in pain. Rebecca's expression became even more serious. She pressed Murphy's body onto the ground. She could already see the Mafia approaching from afar. What should she do? What should she do? This was the first time Rebecca was at a loss. There was nowhere to hide, and Murphy was injured. Leave him behind? Rebecca couldn't do that. In the past, she never had feelings for anyone. But once she did, she would do anything without caring about her own safety. In the end, this battle ended with her loss. This was because she could no longer kill people without any worries like she did in the past. Even if she couldn't kill people, she could run if she couldn't win. "Mr. Chun, I'm at the end of the North Coast Beach Road." Francis looked at the figure in the sand. Once he was discovered, he would immediately turn around and run. "Your man and the female assassin are in danger." Francis told him everything he had seen. He was very nervous. These people were all Mafia. He could tell from their clothes and behavior. In America, the Mafia was undoubtedly the last person to mess with. Suddenly, the car shook violently. Francis's head hit the steering wheel. Then the airbag popped out and bounced Francis back. In a daze, Francis felt himself being dragged out of the car. Then, a stinky liquid was poured on his face. Francis woke up. Black suit, white gloves, Gentleman's hat. Francis shuddered. I noticed someone was following us. Is it that woman's accomplice? Hey, who are you? Francis couldn't care about the pain anymore. He quickly covered his head. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'm a reporter. I'm a reporter. Reporter? The gang leader frowned. He was an enforcer of the mafia. He worked directly for the leader and only listened to the leader's orders. Although they themselves were lawbreakers, they still called themselves law enforcers. Usually, if there were any enemies or traitors in the family, the enforcers would lead a team to deal with them. The organizational structure of the party was mostly based on the structure of the family, and the patriarch was the supreme existence. Of course, there were also mafia bosses who were bosses or fathers. The second was the advisor, who could be considered as the personal assistant of the patriarch and had great authority. Then there was the secondary patriarch, which was usually held by the patriarch's brother or wife. Next were the commanders and soldiers. One of the subordinates moved closer to the law enforcer. I found a camera in his car. I checked the contents. He seems to be following that woman. The enforcer picked up the camera and checked the content inside. Why are you following that woman? Someone hired me. Francis didn't plan on helping him hide it now. Since he was about to lose his life, there was no point in hiding anymore. Moreover, he was forced to do this job. Francis forced himself to calm down and said, I'm not following the woman. I'm following the man. I know nothing about you, and I won't tell anyone about this. Right now, he only hoped that Chun Zhao's reinforcements would arrive soon. Otherwise, these vicious mafias wouldn't let him live at all. You're lying. The enforcer suddenly grabbed Francis' collar in anger. No, I didn't. I really didn't, Francis cried out hurriedly. Actually, the enforcer was just bluffing Francis. Just then, the people in the desert came out, dragging Rebecca and Murphy out. Both of them were thrown in front of Francis. Seeing Rebecca, the enforcer went up and kicked her hard. This woman had brought him too much trouble. She'd also caused him too many casualties. Rebecca was covered in cuts and bruises. It was a tragic sight. Tell me, who is he? The enforcer asked, pointing at Francis. Rebecca saw Francis on the ground, who was connected to her in the same situation. I don't know him. In fact, Rebecca really didn't know Francis. She was even more confused. She didn't understand what these mafias meant. Why is he following and filming you? Rebecca suddenly remembered that someone had been following and filming her yesterday. So it was this man. But Rebecca really didn't understand. Boss, what should we do with this woman? Wait, I'll call the chief, the enforcer said. Of course, he wanted to kill Rebecca right now. He knew how dangerous this woman was. If she was transported to New York, it would be very troublesome. Who knew if something would happen to her on the way? Before this, there had been many records of her being captured. But every time, she found an opportunity and escaped. After so many years, almost 100 people had died in her hands. To be honest, even as a mafias, he felt how terrifying this woman was. Hey, Chief, we caught that woman. I'm asking you how to deal with her. Kill her. I'm tired of this long and trivial hunting. I don't want any more accidents this time. Yes, I understand. The enforcer finally smiled. After the enforcer hung up the phone, he pulled out a cold pistol from behind his back, walked in front of Rebecca, and pointed it at her head. Rebecca had completely lost all hope. This time, she couldn't fight back. She didn't have any chance. These gangsters had learned to be more obedient after fighting with her over and over again. They didn't give her any chance at all. No, don't hurt Rebecca. If you want to kill someone, kill me. Murphy struggled and tried to rush over to save Rebecca. Bang! Blood blossomed on Murphy's chest. When Rebecca saw Murphy on the ground, she struggled to get up as well. But the two mafias behind her hit the back of Rebecca's head with their gun butts. Rebecca fell to the ground, and the enforcer pointed his gun at Rebecca's head. Do you have any last words? Rebecca looked at Murphy in pain. Murphy, I'm sorry. Looking at Rebecca weakly, Murphy smiled miserably. The boss will come to save us. He will. Don't be afraid. The boss will come. Chapter 1372. Just when Rebecca was in despair. Suddenly, a scream came from the darkness. Everyone froze. They were at the end of the road, and there were no street lights along the way. Clouds covered the moon tonight, so there was no natural light. Their only source of light was the headlights. Everything was dark except for a dozen cars. But the scream came too suddenly. This sound was more like someone playing a prank. But except for Rebecca, Francis, and Murphy, everyone else was black. There were a bunch of people who didn't know humor. Obviously, this wasn't a joke. Or, it wasn't a prank at all. What happened? The enforcer asked, looking up. I don't know. Send a few people over, the enforcer said. As soon as they entered the darkness, intense gunshots and screams came. A gunman ran to the enforcer in panic. Boss, there's a... Before the gunman could finish, he was dragged into the darkness by something. But no one could see clearly what it was. And when the gunman was dragged into the darkness, his posture was too strange. He didn't look like he was dragged into the darkness at all. Everyone felt their hair stand on end. All the gunmen pointed their guns at the darkness. But the next moment, a car appeared in front of them. It was their car. But the car didn't appear from the front. Instead, it smashed at them from the side and then smashed into the cars next to them. On the spot, more than a dozen gunmen were smashed into meat sandwiches. The car didn't hit them in a straight line. Instead, it drew an arc in the darkness, as if it had been swung by something. The gunmen didn't know what to do. They couldn't see where the enemy was at all. They could only shoot aimlessly into the darkness. Maybe they thought that if they were lucky, they could hit the enemy. At this time, the headlights of the car at the end of the road disappeared. Their field of vision shrank again. One of the gunmen threw a grenade. The moment the grenade lit up, everyone saw the grenade swallow a figure. Was it over? Everyone had the same question in their minds. Just then, red lines began to extend in the darkness. The red lines seemed to drift with the current. Everyone was afraid of the unknown. No one understood what was happening. The red lines began to turn black from the left and right, and the lights of the cars parked along the road went out one by one. At this moment, the red lines had completely surrounded black. In the next instant, all the cars were pulled into the darkness and disappeared. All the light sources disappeared, and everyone was plunged into darkness. Boom boom. 3 minutes. It was only 3 minutes. All the sounds disappeared. At the end of the road at night, the silence was frightening. At this moment, the Porsche 918's headlights suddenly lit up. Rebecca and Murphy suddenly saw someone standing in front of them. Rebecca's reaction was the fastest. She quickly retreated. Boss, Murphy exclaimed in surprise. He had long known that it was Chun Zhao. However, he hadn't seen Chun Zhao use dark lava before, so he wasn't sure. Chun Zhao glanced at Murphy, then at Rebecca. Finally, he saw a few bullet holes in his car. Murphy, do you know that you've skipped work today? Boss, I didn't do it on purpose. Chun Zhao lifted Murphy and slapped him in the face. Do you know that my car is damaged? Boss, I let go of Murphy. Rebecca had recovered quite a bit by now. She charged at Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao raised his hand and grabbed Rebecca's neck. Rebecca wanted to struggle, but the strength she was so proud of was as weak as a baby before Chun Zhao. Rebecca had never felt so powerless before. She tried to resist, but her resistance was futile. According to the damage to my car, you have to pay me $300,000, Chun Zhao said. Boss, I don't have money. Can you let Rebecca go first? No money? Black Boastier appeared behind him, opening his abyss-like mouth. No money? Does that mean you want to go back on your word? Let Murphy go. I'll help him pay back the money he owes. Rebecca finally understood that Chun Zhao was a real demon king. Murphy wasn't exaggerating at all. This man was terrifying. More than 100 gangsters had died in his hands just like that. Even their corpses couldn't be found. Do you have money? I don't. Give me 3 months. I promise I'll pay you back, Rebecca said. Rebecca felt that even if she had to steal or rob, she would find a way to pay for Murphy. It might be possible to get $300,000 in 3 months. Huh? Chun Zhao sneered. Do you think I have the patience to wait for 3 months? Boss, don't joke around. Murphy was really scared. He knew Chun Zhao's temper. Chun Zhao was always moody. Chun Zhao casually tossed Murphy and Rebecca onto the ground. He turned to look at Francis, who was stunned, and threw a stack of money in front of Francis. Do you know what to say and what not to say? Francis swallowed. Looking at the stack of money again, he nodded hurriedly. I know. I'll watch my mouth. It's okay if you can't. I'll shut your mouth forever, so don't give me a chance to make you shut up. Got it. Francis grabbed the money on the ground and stuffed it into his pocket. You're still here? Francis stared at the night sky. You want me to walk back? What else? I'll take you. But A is dozens of kilometers away. I can probably walk to L at dawn. Francis lowered his head helplessly. Just then, a jackal howled in the night sky. There really were jackals in the desert. Francis was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Mr. Chun, can I go with you? Why should I bring you along? Chun Zhao looked at Francis. Francis took out the money. How about I pay you back? I don't need money. Francis was about to cry. Tell me what you need me to do. How about this? I don't need you to do anything. If I need you in the future, just be smart. Chapter 1373. Chun Zhao looked at Murphy and Rebecca. This was Rebecca's first encounter with a spiritualist other than Asalisa. She'd once thought that she was strong enough. But after seeing Chun Zhao for real, she realized how insignificant she was. She had never known that a single person could wipe out the entire Blackhand gang. Even when she was at her best, she never had such a thought. Although the Mafia here wasn't the entire family, it was still the family's full strength. Rebecca didn't think that the family would go all out for her. But she also didn't think that it would end like this. Boss, I'll ask my mother for money. She has money. Murphy looked up at Chun Zhao. He was even more afraid of Chun Zhao now. Sure, call her. Chun Zhao tossed his phone to Murphy. Murphy picked up the phone and dialed Agnes's number. Hey, Mom, help. Boss wants to kill me. Instinctively, Murphy complained to his mother. Oh, you're not dead yet, Agnes said, unconcerned. I borrowed Boss's car, but I was attacked and the car was damaged. Now Boss wants me to pay $300,000. Can you lend me $300,000? I don't have money. Go to hell. When Agnes heard that Murphy wanted to borrow money, she directly refused him and hung up the phone. Murphy was dumbfounded. Did his mother want him to die? Looks like even your mother can't save you. Chun Zhao smiled at Murphy. Murphy looked at Chun Zhao with a sad face. Boss, what do you want to let me and Rebecca go? Keep patrolling for me. I'll let you go when you pay the money. Chun Zhao didn't have a good solution now. In fact, it wasn't about the $300,000. Chun Zhao just casually asked for $300,000. The Porsche 918 was expensive, but it couldn't be repaired for $300,000. To put it bluntly, he was making things difficult for them. But how should he deal with them? He couldn't kill them. Looking at Rebecca's eyes, Murphy knew that the kid was really in love. If he killed Rebecca directly, Murphy would either be crippled or he would fight to the death with him. So, Chun Zhao planned to keep Rebecca alive for now. As for the future, he would think about it in the future. At the very least, it would be up to Murphy's mother to decide. At that time, it would be none of his business whether he was killed or tortured. Boss, then, unwilling? Forget it. I'll kill her now. Chun Zhao stepped forward. Rebecca wanted to escape, but Chun Zhao had already grabbed her neck. I agree. Don't hurt Rebecca. Chun Zhao let go of Rebecca again. Don't try to run. You can't run anywhere in L.A. If I catch you after you run, you'll suffer a fate worse than death. Chun Zhao and Francis left in the sports car. He left Murphy and Rebecca rooted to the ground. After Chun Zhao left, Rebecca slumped to the ground helplessly. Half of it was because he was weak, and the other half was because he was scared. That person is your boss. Murphy nodded silently. Actually, boss is usually quite nice, as long as you don't offend him. What if you offend him? The boss once fought a very scary monster. That monster called itself the Fallen Source. Then, the boss cut that Fallen Source into pieces. Don't be an enemy of the boss. Absolutely don't be an enemy of him. He has many subordinates, and each of them is very scary. The boss also has many pets. Murphy suddenly paused. He realized that he'd said too much. Because he'd discovered the three-headed dog and the Hydra, Chun Zhao had never let him go. Why aren't you talking? Boss's pets can actually turn into monsters? Like that huge black beast just now. Rebecca pointed at Bustil. That's not Boss's pet. I think that guy's called Bustil. I think he used to be Boss's enemy too. Then Boss skinned him and controlled him. Rebecca shuddered. This guy was quite brutal. Last time in San Diego, the local gang offended Miss Failai, Boss's girlfriend. Then Boss chopped off the hands and feet of the gang's hundreds of members. Rebecca vaguely remembered this incident. It had been too big of a deal. The police couldn't hide it, even if they wanted to. It seemed that a truck full of gang members with their limbs chopped off was stopped at a stop and then set on fire. She didn't expect Chun Zhao to be the culprit. The more Rebecca heard, the more terrified she became. No wonder Murphy said that his boss was a demon. Francis didn't speak on the way. He didn't dare to speak either. He just drove in silence. Chun Zhao leaned against the car door, thinking about something. Chun Zhao hesitated. Francis immediately pricked up his ears. Continue investigating that woman called Rebecca, Chun Zhao said. I want to know more. Okay, Mr. Chun, you'll get all the money you deserve. Chun Zhao paused. Then he said, investigate the identity of the person who attacked them today. He looks like a gang. It's the New York gang. I know how they talk and do things. The white glove guy is a law enforcer. They're the most arrogant gang in North America right now. But after today, they won't be able to be arrogant anymore. Why? Because you killed almost all of their main forces. Francis panicked when he thought of the more than 100 lives that have been lost. Any normal person would be terrified to have such a demon beside them. Now that they've lost a lot of power, Francis said, their past enemies definitely won't let them go. There's so many gangs in New York. They'll probably be completely wiped out soon. Are you familiar with this? Were you in a gang before? I was a gangster more than a decade ago. I know a bit about this. Chun Zhao glanced at Francis. He was only in his 30s. A decade ago? That meant he'd been in the gang since he was a teenager. Just then, Chun Zhao saw two figures in front. He wasn't unfamiliar with one of them. It was Daly Moore. The other was also a woman. She was quite young. What were they doing on the street in the middle of the night? Chapter 1374. Dahlia Moore and Navot's singer stopped. They saw Chun Zhao and Francis in the car. Mr. Chun, why are you here? I should be the one asking you. Why are you here? I have something to do, Daly Moore said. The cemetery is up ahead, Chun Zhao said. It's not safe there. If you keep going there, you better be careful. With that, Chun Zhao told Francis to drive. Knotts glanced at the car's taillights and asked, Daly Moore, you know him? He's my dad's friend. From his tone, he seems to be from the spiritual world too. Yes, I became a witch because of him. He looks so weak, Knotts said. I can't sense any threat from him. Didn't you say that he's either ridiculously powerful or knows how to hide his aura? He's both, Daly Moore said. Him? I can't tell. My senses are much stronger than yours, but I can't sense anything special about him. Mr. Chun, who are those two? Witches, Chun Zhao said calmly. Francis didn't ask anymore. He was quite against supernatural events and people now. Ever since Chun Zhao threatened him, he'd been very uneasy. Especially tonight, the uneasiness had reached its peak. Originally, he thought that once this matter was over, his emotions would calm down. But that wasn't the case. Francis's uneasiness continued. It's already over, but you still seem to be afraid. Chun Zhao glanced at Francis. Francis's expression was frozen. Usually, I won't kill ordinary people, even if most of them are from gangs or gangs. Of course, there are those who don't listen. Francis forced a smile and kept driving. Mr. Chun, there are really souls in the world, right? Yes. Is there hell? Yes. What about heaven? I don't know. The car reached Francis's house, and he got off. Your house is inauspicious. Go somewhere else, Chun Zhao said and left. Francis was stunned. He looked up at his house and opened his mouth, his expression ugly. Originally, he didn't think there was any problem with his house. He had lived in it for a few years. He did not encounter any supernatural incidents. But now, hearing Chun Zhao's words, he didn't know what to do. If an ordinary person or a stranger said this, he would definitely spit on the other side. But it was Chun Zhao who said that. Chun Zhao was a real person from the supernatural world. Since he said it was inauspicious, then it must be true. What could he do if Chun Zhao didn't make himself clear? It would have been better if Chun Zhao hadn't mentioned it. After Chun Zhao did, Francis started imagining things. Standing in front of the door, he didn't know whether he should enter or not. Chun Zhao didn't sleep for the entire night. He was also worried about leaving Murphy in the wilderness. Just like their own children, their hearts were always a little uneasy. Chun Zhao didn't relax until Murphy and Rebecca came back in the morning. But after this night, Murphy and Rebecca's relationship had progressed again. At least Rebecca was living in the house Murphy rented in Mountain Hills. As for whether he was on base or not, Chun Zhao didn't need to worry about it. But a man and a woman living under the same roof. Chun Zhao didn't believe that they didn't do anything. It was just like how Chun Zhao and Fei Lai had been roommates in the beginning. Chun Zhao couldn't get over it back then. He didn't want to eat the grass near his nest. In the end, it only took them a little more than a month to completely get along. When Chun Zhao left China, he had broken up with his ex-girlfriend not long ago. His relationship was hurt too. Back then, Chun Zhao had planned to never get married. They only talked about romance and not love. It was just that no one could control their feelings. Now that he was with Fei Lai, it was more like family than love. Of course, this wasn't bad. Chun Zhao was very satisfied with his family. As for Murphy and Rebecca's future, Chun Zhao couldn't be bothered. They weren't his parents. He didn't need to worry about that. Mr. Chun, the factory is having a meeting today. We're going to discuss the price. Would you like to come and participate? No, you guys decide. Mr. Chun, right now, our brewery has 3 kinds of packaged beer. They're 580 milliliters cans, 650 milliliters cans, and 900 milliliters cans. I plan to price them at $3, $4, and $6 respectively. Do you think we need to negotiate the prices? Isn't that too expensive? Chun Zhao felt that the price was really high. At present, the price of the same amount of beer on the market was between $1 and $2, but the price in Denver was more than 3 times that. Would consumers really pay for such expensive beer? Chun Zhao was very doubtful. Mr. Chun, I came to this conclusion after testing the product. Almost every customer asked our salesman where they could buy this beer. At the same time, I also did a product comparison. Every time, I put 20 beers in our beer in front of 20 people and let them try it. They'll choose the beer they like the most. The probability of our beer being chosen is 95%, so I think we have a right to raise the price, Denver said confidently. Denver said confidently, our production capacity this year is 150,000 tons at most. I believe our beer will bring us great profits. Didn't you say that we're going to add another production line? This production line is still in testing. We're mainly using Kansas Stingle wheat, but there's no such wheat on the market anymore. If we want it, we'll have to wait until after the autumn harvest. So the second production line can only wait until after the autumn harvest. We have to buy enough wheat to start fermentation. Chun Zhao wasn't very confident. Such a high price was very risky. Mr. Chun, please trust my market judgment. Okay, I trust you. In the end, Chun Zhao decided to listen to Denver's pricing suggestion. There were risks, but he could bear it. But if he could open up the market, a high price would also mean a high return. 150,000 tons of beer was about 180 million liters. According to this price, 1 liter of beer would be around $7, and the sales would probably exceed $1 billion. After deducting the cost, business tax, and personal income tax, he could probably recover the cost in the first year and realize profits. He could make more than $200 million this year. Chapter 1375. The cost of 580 milliliters of beer on the market wouldn't exceed $1. So, according to Denver's high pricing, the profit would be very high. If Chun Zhao didn't take any profits this year and continued to invest in production, he could get rid of the tax. Of course, this was calculated based on the best sales. Because Dashin beer was new and only available in Mars supermarkets this year, it couldn't be sold out in a short time. Chun Zhao had to see how the first batch sold. Chun Zhao still needed to borrow money and invest in advertisements. No matter how good Dashin beer tasted, It would be hard to enter the market in a short time without enough advertising. If he let word of mouth grow, it would take at least 2 to 3 years to see results. Chen Zhao didn't have that much money to sustain losses for 2 to 3 years. By then, he would have to borrow from the bank. Beer had always been a high-profit industry. Chen Zhao's brewery's current production was less than 1/10 of those big brands. For example, Budweiser, which had the highest sales in the world, was also the most famous beer brand in the world. Its annual sales were 2.5 billion liters, and its revenue was over $50 billion. Its net profit was close to $8 billion. Compared to such a big international brand, Dashen Beer was like a baby. On the first day of June, Dashen Beer was officially available in Mara supermarkets. The advertisements also started, but Chen Zhao's mind was all on Fei Lai. There was less than a month until her due date. Chen Zhao didn't go out at all. Even when Steven and Rasfa asked him to go out for a drink, he refused. Brazil's southwestern city, Nilmara, was at the edge of the Amazon rainforest. 1/3 of the city was connected to the rainforest. Further in was the town of New Bali. New Bali had a population of less than 10,000. Its main industry was tourism. Many of the people there were working as guides, mainly to lead the way for people entering the Amazon rainforest. However, most of the locals would only bring the tourists in for less than 10 kilometers before bringing them out. Beyond 10 kilometers, even the locals couldn't guarantee the tourists' safety. They knew the dangers of the rainforest better than outsiders. It was the most dangerous place in the world. Without a guide, ordinary tourists would lose their lives in minutes when they entered the tropical rainforest. This was definitely not a joke. 10 kilometers was because many people walked. This area was basically half open, so the danger was basically eliminated. However, no one could guarantee their safety if they went any deeper unless they cut down all the trees. Apart from tourists, there are also explorers, scientists, and mercenaries in the New Bali town. Here, one could see all kinds of people walking on the streets. The natives were also asking the strangers if they needed a guide. When Klaus and the members of the Lightning Squad arrived at New Bali town, they all felt extremely tired. The temperature here was maintained at 35 degrees Celsius during the day. It was fine if it was just hot. Most importantly, the humidity was as high as 90%, and this was in the town. Once they entered the rainforest, the humidity would directly exceed 99%. What did that mean? Basically, if you stood in the rainforest for a minute, your face would be covered in water. Furthermore, he couldn't wear short-sleeved shirts and shorts. If he wore short-sleeved shirts and shorts, it was basically no different from committing suicide. Klaus, where are your friends? Let's look for it. Female one, 82 meters tall. It should be very obvious. Over there. The members of the Lightning Squad had sharp eyes and quickly found the person Klaus was talking about. Xiao Shika. Klaus waved at the woman. Klaus. Xiao Shika happily ran forward and gave Klaus a passionate hug. Xiao Shika had the common characteristics of Latin American beauties, but she wasn't as petite as the Latin beauties. Her physique and bones were both large, and she was about the same height and physique as Klaus. My God, your hand's strength has increased again, Klaus teased. Actually, Xiao Shika's strength wasn't enough to make Klaus feel uncomfortable. These are... Xiao Shika turned to look at the members of the Lightning Squad. They're my brothers, Klaus said. Let's go. Let's find a place to sit. After finding a place to sit, the Lightning Squad and Xiao Shika began to get to know each other. Xiao Shika joined the army at the same time as Klaus. In comparison, Klaus and the Lightning Squad met later. They were originally part of the border force and were mainly responsible for overseas missions and border battles. But later, Klaus was transferred to the Marine Corps and even went to a real battlefield. After that, he entered the elite team of the Anti-Terrorism Security Department and became the leader of the Lightning Squad. After Xiao Shika and a few familiar comrades retired from the army, they became mercenaries again. All these years, Klaus had always kept in touch with Xiao Shika and the others, so their relationship hadn't faded. This time, when his old comrades were in trouble, the first person Xiao Shika asked for help was Klaus. Klaus didn't let him down. He came at the first moment and even brought the lightning squad with him. It was obvious that Klaus was a person who valued relationships. Ciao Chica, tell us the details. 10 days ago, we received a mission to protect an exploration team into the tropical rainforest. The specific destination was the Schickel region of the Amazon rainforest. Why didn't you go in? Klaus asked. I got dysentery, Ciao Chica said helplessly. It was the most common disease in the tropical rainforest or at the border. If it wasn't treated in time, it would be very dangerous, even life-threatening. So I was hospitalized and missed the mission. That's why I ended up in the hospital and missed the mission. After that, I became responsible for external communications. When the team entered Silas territory, which was 5 days ago, I received a distress message from the team. The one who contacted me was Kamalari. They seemed to have been attacked by the natives. Among them, Doran, Barker, and Laravision were already dead. Now, there are only 4 of them left, and they're trapped somewhere. In the 3 days before you arrived, Kamalari contacted me many times. However, because the batteries they brought with them were running low, we agreed to contact each other at 6 o'clock in the evening every day. We completely lost contact the day before yesterday. Are you sure they are still alive? Klaus asked. This was a crucial question. If they were still alive, then the risk was worth it. If they were dead, then the risk was worthless. After all, even if they found them, they might not even find a complete corpse. Klaus had to think about the people who were still alive. There's an 80% chance that they're still alive. In our last contact, Kamalari explained the situation. They seem to be trapped in an ancient building, but he couldn't tell us the exact location. They've brought with them a complete set of equipment, fresh water, medicine, and compressed food. Based on my estimation, if we exclude external environmental factors, they can hold on for at least 6 days. Klaus didn't hesitate. An 80% chance of survival was high enough. Chapter 1376. Ciao Chica. Are you sure you want to go in with us? Klaus asked. Klaus, don't you believe in my abilities? Ciao Chica looked at Klaus with dissatisfaction. Nami is a woman too. If she can go in, why can't I? Nami turned her head. She was the only woman in the lightning squad. Nami had nothing to say about Ciao Chica comparing her to her. She couldn't tell Ciao Chica that she was stronger than him. Okay, I don't mean anything else, Klaus said. I just think that we need a contact person outside. If we run into trouble, someone can come and save us. That's easy, Ciao Chica said. I know someone here. He can be the contact person temporarily. Not long after, Ciao Chica found the person. He was a local native. He was only 6 meters tall and had dark skin, but his eyes looked very sharp. Klaus, let me introduce you. This is Moji. Hello, I'm Klaus. Klaus shook hands with Moji. Mr. Klaus, how may I be of service? If we don't come back after 15 days in the rainforest, you can call this number and help me explain the situation to them. Okay, that's easy. Moji nodded. The group of 7 entered the rainforest from the entrance. Klaus, who's that number? Ciao Chica asked curiously. Our boss, Klaus said. He can solve any problem. This is the Amazon rainforest, the most dangerous place in the world, Ciao Chica said. You don't need strength here. You need to be careful. Our boss is so powerful that he can ignore all danger, Nami said. Ciao Chica looked at Klaus and the other members of the lightning squad. They all had a look of faith in their eyes. But her rationality told her that this was wrong. The Amazon rainforest had welcomed countless people who thought they were invincible. However, no one who stepped into this primitive and mysterious land with such a mentality could walk out alive. This wasn't a war between humans. It was the ultimate test of humanity against nature. The dangers here came from all aspects: animals, plants, and the climate and environment. For example, the most venomous animal in the world, the poison arrow frog. The venom of the poison arrow frog was so strong that it didn't need to enter the mouth or the bloodstream. As long as it came into contact with the skin, it could directly penetrate the skin. There was once a researcher who dripped a drop of poison dart frog secretion on the back of his hand. His hand felt like it was being burned, and he died after suffering for 3 days. Modern medicine could not do anything about it. If the poison of the poison dart frog came into contact with a human's wound, it would be even easier. It would only take 10 minutes. There were also all kinds of poisonous snakes, all kinds of deadly and disease-causing insects, all kinds of poisonous snakes, and all kinds of ferocious beasts. After entering the rainforest, the humidity in the air had increased significantly. The higher the humidity, the more pineal hormones secreted by the human body's pineal glands. The pineal hormone would cause the cells to become inactive, and the person would become listless, and powerless. At the same time, due to the high humidity, body heat could not be released, and heat stroke would occur. Prolonged heat stroke can cause brain death. It was not Xiao Shika's first time in the Amazon rainforest, but even though she had been there many times, she still could not get used to it. This was the zone with the most extreme humidity on Earth. They used 3 hours to walk past the safe zone and began to face the true nature of the rainforest. Just then, it started to rain cats and dogs. In the tropical rainforest, the rain was very frequent, and it was without any warning. In most cases, the rainfall was very small, maybe a few square kilometers or more than a dozen square kilometers, and there was no pattern to it. But the duration was very short, and the rainfall was very heavy. But this rain was very beneficial to the team. The washing of the rain made the air fresh, and at the same time, it took away the accumulated heat in their bodies. Phew! So comfortable. Klaus took off his hat and twisted the rainwater on his head. Of course, the rain also brought them some trouble, and the ground under their feet became muddy. Just then, a large river appeared in front of them. The Amazon River was the largest river in the world, and it had so many branches that satellites could not scan it clearly. Also, the changes in the Amazon River were very frequent, and the river changed its course almost every day. As long as there was enough water in a depression, it could form a river, and then it could connect to the main river. The river was about 30 meters wide, not very big, but the water was very turbulent and muddy, and they could not see the depth of the river. "Everyone, cut a tree branch, and we will cross the river," Klaus ordered. "Pay attention to what is in the water," Xiao Shika reminded. "Xiao Shika, you follow behind me," Klaus said. "I'm more familiar with this place than you," Xiao Shika said. "I will take the lead." Xiao Shika was very dissatisfied with Klaus's arrangement of her in the middle of the team. She felt that she was qualified to stand in any position in the team. "It is just a river," Klaus said. "Also, I am the team leader now, so please listen to my orders." Xiao Shika was helpless. Klaus had already used the tone of the team leader, so she had to obey. No matter the situation, soldiers had to obey the orders and arrangements of their superiors. The river was not as deep as they thought. The deepest part was less than 2 meters, and the mud on the riverbed was not thick, so it should be a branch that had changed course recently. Since it was a river that had changed course recently, the possibility of crocodiles could be ruled out. At the same time, the speed of the river could also rule out the possibility of water eels. Water eels would not be active in water where the river flowed too fast. They preferred slow-flowing river water or lurked in swamps. Because their bodies were too heavy, they were not good swimmers, and it was very likely that they would be washed away by the river. Everyone went ashore one by one, and suddenly Nami, who was at the back, screamed. Everyone immediately turned to look at Nami and saw her trembling in the water. Xiao Shika's expression changed. Not good. She encountered an electric eel. Then, Nami raised her arm, and in her hand was an electric eel that was as thick as an arm and about 15 kilograms. "We have an extra meal tonight. Such a strong voltage." Xiao Shika stared at Nami in astonishment. This was an adult electric eel, and its voltage could reach 800 volts. But Nami only twitched slightly, and there was no intense electric shock. Could it be that this woman has undergone electric shock training? Chapter 1377. Nami casually tossed the electric eel at them. Klaus's military knife flashed, and the electric eel's head was instantly cut off. It fell to the ground and rolled a few times before it stopped moving. Xiao Shika looked at Klaus in surprise. "What a fast speed, what an accurate blade. Feel around in the water again." "Eat more tonight," Klaus said. Then the other members of the lightning squad continued to feel around in the water. Xiao Shika saw a member of the lightning squad. Without looking into the water, he stabbed the wooden stick in his hand into the water, and a catfish weighing more than 10 kilograms was lifted up. How did you do that? Xiao Shika asked in surprise. As long as there's enough tactile training. The catfish swam past his feet, so he could judge in advance. His success rate is around 60%. Captain, it's not 60%. My current success rate is... The member stabbed the wooden stick into the water again, and 2 piranhas were skewered on the stick. 100%. All right, I know you're good, Klaus scolded with a smile. Suddenly, the military knife in Klaus's hand shot into the forest. Xiao Shika looked at Klaus in confusion. Then she saw the military knife nail a lizard's head to a tree. Hiss! Xiao Shika gasped. They were about 20 meters away, and the color of the lizard's body completely blended in with the dark gray of the tree. Plus, it was already a little dark. How did he hit it? Was it a coincidence? The lizard was 1 meter long, and its body was quite thick. Klaus walked up and picked up the lizard. Not bad. This is a caiman lizard. Caiman lizards were not related to caimans. They were called caiman lizards because they looked like crocodiles. This thing was an endangered species. If Klaus had seen it in public, he would probably have been sent to jail. But in this environment, they could not waste anything that could be eaten. Although they had brought compressed biscuits, they were emergency food, and they did not taste good. Compressed biscuits were high in calories, and they were easy to carry and store. The team did not plan to continue forward, and they set up camp. Xiao Shika was also getting to know each member of the lightning squad. Without a doubt, they were all elites. But they were not very familiar with the tropical rainforest. But their physical qualities were very outstanding. Moreover, all of them had exquisite skills. Nami will be on duty for the first half of the night, and I will be on duty for the second half of the night, Klaus said while eating. Xiao Shika glanced at Klaus. Klaus, it's too tiring to be on duty alone for half a night. No, they can. Klaus did not give Xiao Shika a chance to question him further. After dinner, everyone except Nami went into the tent. In such an extreme environment, it was impossible for them to find entertainment, and they could not afford to waste every second of rest. Xiao Shika slept until dawn. When she woke up, she smelled blood as soon as she stepped out of the tent. Something happened last night. Xiao Shika's heart tightened. He turned around and saw a few people sitting in front of the fire. A dismembered jaguar was hanging from a tree. Their camp was attacked last night. But when did this happen? Why was there no movement at all? A jaguar attacking the camp would definitely cause quite a commotion. Did he sleep too soundly? Damn it, I haven't been in a dangerous area for too long. I'm actually so lax. Xiao Shika, come and have breakfast. We should continue our journey after that. Give me a bowl of bone soup. I cooked it all night, Klaus said. Klaus, I'm sorry. I had no idea what happened last night. Xiao Shika felt that he had neglected his duty. Even if there were no casualties, it was completely irresponsible for him to sleep so soundly in such an environment. It's okay. I don't know either. Nami killed it. Klaus smiled. I only woke up when it was my turn to be on duty. Xiao Shika gasped again. Did Nami kill the jaguar alone? Nami, you didn't use a gun? I was afraid of disturbing your rest, Nami said calmly. Xiao Shika did not understand where Nami's confidence came from. This was not a medium-sized carnivore like a puma. Jaguars were large carnivores. At the same time, they were the most dangerous predators on the American continent. They even preyed on crocodiles. If they were to widen the distance and use a gun, Xiao Shika had a certain degree of confidence. But without a gun, Xiao Shika definitely did not dare to go against an adult jaguar. Nami was not tall. In fact, she could be considered small. She was only 61 meters tall. How could she dare to go against a 250-kilogram jaguar? Everyone started packing their bags and tents. In just 15 minutes, they packed everything and continued their journey. Klaus, is Nami the strongest in the team? Xiao Shika purposely widened the distance between the team and walked at the back with Klaus. However, the people in front had clear ears. They could all hear Xiao Shika's words. Of course, no one would laugh at Xiao Shika's question. Yes, she's very strong. Klaus smiled. At noon, it rained again. For the lightning squad, the rain came at the right time. But it was not good for Xiao Shika. She did not have the superhuman constitution of the lightning squad. The rain made her a little cold. Fortunately, they had brought some medicine. Chun Zhao had made it for everyone in the society. It was quite effective. Captain, there's a big river ahead. The people in front shouted. Klaus walked to the river and looked. It was at least 150 meters wide. The current was around 3 meters per second. It was not rapid, but the water could be more than 3 meters deep. Crocodiles. Klaus saw a few crocodiles lying on the shore a few hundred meters away. If there was one crocodile on the shore, there could be 10 in the water. What do we do? Cross the river on a raft? Xiao Shika asked. No need. Klaus shook his head. Just swim past me. The others prepare for underwater combat. Xiao Shika was dumbfounded. What underwater combat? They were facing crocodiles, not humans. How could they fight crocodiles underwater? Was Klaus crazy? But the problem was, why didn't anyone refute Klaus's orders? Xiao Shika felt that this was suicide. Once surrounded by the crocodiles, none of them would survive. Let's go, Klaus said. We'll go underwater first. Just follow behind me. Don't worry about anything else. Chapter 1378. Halfway through, Xiao Shika suddenly saw red blood floating on the surface of the water. Klaus, something happened. Something happened. Something happened underwater. Keep swimming, don't look around. Klaus continued swimming in front. Xiao Shika wanted to help, but she didn't know how to help in the water, so she could only continue swimming. Xiao Shika followed Klaus to the other side. Xiao Shika immediately raised her submachine gun and looked at the water nervously. Don't shoot randomly. It's not good if you hurt your own people, Klaus said calmly. Just then, Nami was the first to stand in the shallow water, but she was dragging something in her hand. A crocodile. It was a 3-meter-long crocodile. The crocodile wasn't dead, but Nami was grabbing its upper and lower jaws and dragging it to the shore. This scene completely subverted Xiao Shika's worldview. This must be fake, right? This must have been prepared beforehand. Nami actually caught a crocodile alive in the water. Just then, another thing floated up. This time, it was a crocodile with its stomach turned upside down. However, this crocodile's stomach was completely cut open. Then another crocodile floated up, and another, and another. Then, the members of the lightning team came ashore one after another. No one was injured, and everyone was holding a military knife. Nami, why did you catch it alive? I want to eat crocodile tonight. If crocodile meat isn't processed in time, it will go bad in 3 hours, Nami said. Xiao Shika was completely crazy. To eat crocodile meat tonight, they went into the water and caught a crocodile alive? Also, did these people really kill crocodiles underwater? There were 4 or 5 crocodiles that floated up, so it was possible that more crocodiles were washed away before they could float up. Other than Klaus, the 5 of them probably killed no less than 20 crocodiles, right? What was going on with these guys? Let it go. It's only noon. Are you planning to carry this 200-kilogram crocodile all the way? Klaus shouted. I'll carry it. I don't have to be on duty tonight anyway, Nami said in a defiant tone. Xiao Shika felt that even if she carried this 200-kilogram crocodile, it would be a burden. At least 3 people would need to carry it, right? But reality was not what she thought. Nami found a rope and tied the crocodile's mouth. Then she grabbed the crocodile and put it on her shoulder. Don't eat my crocodile meat if you dare, Nami said angrily. Forget it, I'll do it. He was the strongest in the team, more than twice as strong as Nami. Who were these people? A bunch of monsters. The way Xiao Shika looked at them changed. Let's go. Let's continue forward. Klaus did not hesitate to release the crocodile. Xiao Shika looked at Temmie's carrying a 200-kilogram crocodile and didn't feel tired at all. She even felt that he walked more easily than she did. He was still talking and laughing with his teammates. It wasn't until the evening that everyone found an empty space to rest. Xiao Shika deeply felt that these people were truly monstrous existences. Not just Nami, But everyone, Klaus, I'm on duty tonight too. Xiao Shika volunteered. Sure, you and Temmys will be responsible for the first half of the night. Rodman will be responsible for the second half. Xiao Shika felt Klaus' discrimination again. Everyone else was on duty alone, but she had Temmys with her. No, more accurately, Temmys was with her. The big Temmys didn't care. Xiao Shika, if you're tired at night, you can sleep first. Temmys was a bit stubborn. If it was someone else, they would never say this to Xiao Shika. Xiao Shika decided on the spot that she had to complete her duty tonight. After nightfall, everyone started to rest. Temmys and Xiao Shika sat in front of the fire. Temmys, is everyone in your lightning team so strong? It's mainly because our boss's boss is strong. Is this the boss Klaus mentioned? Yes, the boss always says that if he's a lion, his subordinates can't be a flock of sheep, Temmys said. Is your boss on a mission somewhere else now? No, he hasn't been out recently. His girlfriend is about to give birth. Temmys suddenly frowned and stood up. Xiao Shika's expression changed slightly. She saw specks of green light in the forest in front of her. Wolves! Wolves! Xiao Shika immediately picked up her gun, intending to wake the others. Don't be nervous, Temmys said. You guard here. If a wolf comes, shoot. Don't leave the camp. But Xiao Shika wanted to refute Temmys, but Temmys had already strode forward and disappeared into the darkness in the blink of an eye. Then, the howls of wolves came from the darkness. Xiao Shika was very nervous. She kept staring into the darkness. Other than the sound, she couldn't see anything. She didn't know what was going on over there. Temmys is so strong. He'll be fine. Xiao Shika comforted herself. But in such an environment, encountering a wolf pack was the most dangerous. Unlike the wolves in North America, most of North America was a relatively open area with a wider population. Wolf packs couldn't grow, but forest wolves were different. For example, the wolves in the Amazon rainforest were very large. They might even encounter a large wolf pack of 50 or 60. What should I do? Should I wake Klaus and the others? Suddenly, a wolf charged toward the camp. Xiao Shika immediately fired. Da-da-da. The wolf ran for a few meters and fell in front of Xiao Shika. Just then, a person came out of the tent. Klaus walked out. What happened? Wolves. Wolves. Temmys went over. I'm afraid. Oh, wolf pack. Klaus found a glass of water and rinsed his mouth. Since you're up, let's have a midnight snack. Klaus, aren't you going to help Temmys? What for? Isn't he back? Xiao Shika turned and saw that Temmys had returned. He was carrying a gray wolf that was more than 2 meters long. Just then, Rodman came out of the tent. That's great. We have a midnight snack when we wake up. Rodman also looked calm. It was as if Temmys had taken the initiative to attack the wolves. It was completely unimportant. Temmys, you didn't hurt yourself, did you? Xiao Shika asked Temmys, who was covered in blood. Oh no, this is wolf blood, Temmys said. Eat some roasted wolf meat and go rest. Temmys, did you kill all the wolves just now? Rodman asked. Chapter 1379. 2 days. The Lightning Squad had only used 2 days to teach Xiao Shika what it meant to be at the top. Xiao Shika knew that Klaus was very powerful. Back then, Klaus had been their captain. But at that time, Klaus was only very powerful. Although they kept in touch, they were still separated for many years. From then on, Xiao Shika always felt that their team was a top team. But now, when he saw Klaus again, Xiao Shika suddenly realized that they seemed to be out of touch with the top. The Lightning Squad was the true top team. Every single member of the Lightning Squad was ridiculously strong. A 7-meter-long water venomous serpent had wrapped itself around Klaus. The others were holding their stopwatches to bet on whether it would be 10 or 20 seconds before Klaus could escape. They had no intention of helping. Then Klaus bets himself for a minute while he fights the water bug. After that, Klaus held on for a minute before he calmly pulled out his military knife and chopped off the water gloom's head. They weren't adventuring in the jungle. They were playing. So far, at least, they had been playing. In the primeval forest, the water dragon and the god of death had the same meaning. Those who were entangled by the water serpent basically had 1 foot in the gates of hell. But Klaus was actually trying to compete in strength with a water glim. Of course, to their team, this was just a small interlude. Everyone rested for half an hour at noon. Xiao Shika knew that everyone was taking care of her. In fact, she was the only one in the team who felt tired and could not walk. Up until now, Xiao Shika was the only one who had fired a gun. Most of the time, the lightning squad used their sabers to deal with trouble. When the break time was up, Klaus stood up and said, "Let's check the direction again." Nami held the locator, but it seemed to be interfered with. The numbers kept jumping. Nami frowned and switched to an ordinary compass. But the needle of the compass was also jumping randomly. "Captain, there's magnetic field interference here." In the primeval forest, positioning was very important. Once they lost the positioning of the machines, they could only rely on the stars to locate them. However, most of the time, they were covered by the towering trees and thick leaves. It was very difficult for them to see the sun. "Check if the communication device is working," Klaus said. "I can't receive the satellite signal. The radio equipment is also not working. Looks like we might be in trouble." Klaus said, "Continue forward for another 20 kilometers and see if we can get out of this interference zone." Suddenly, a wooden splinter was nailed into the tree in front of Klaus. Enemy attack. In just 0.1 seconds, Klaus had already pulled Xiao Shika, who was still in a daze, to the ground. "Timmies, check your front left." The arrow came from that direction. In the direction that Klaus was pointing at, there were faint figures moving about. "Use firearms," Klaus said. Da-da-da, a figure fell from the treetops. It was an extremely primitive native with leaves draped over its body and a feathered crown on its head. It was less than 1.5 meters tall. "Woola, woola." Then a strange cry came from the forest. Dozens of figures rushed out of the forest, holding wooden spears or crudely made wooden bows. Some were even using blowpipes. "Cannibals! They're cannibals!" Jazik shouted. She saw one of the primitive men holding the skull and hitting it with a wooden stick, making a sound. This seemed to be their battle song. The primitive people recklessly charged towards the troops. Free fire. It was a one-sided massacre. Of course, this battle itself was not a righteous one. Even with the restrictions of the international treaty, Klaus had no choice but to give the order to shoot the natives of these primitive tribes. Although their weapons were very primitive, they were all smeared with poison. Duh. Everyone opened fire, and the natives fell one after another. The battle lasted for a few minutes. "Is anyone hurt?" "Captain, I'm hurt." Rodman's expression was a little ugly. His right arm was hanging limply with an arrow stuck in it. "Poison dart frog poison." Jazik's expression was even uglier. This meant that Rodman could very likely die from the poison in a few minutes. "Lie down." Klaus rushed to Rodman's side. "Furlough, take out the life-saving medicine." Furlough immediately opened his backpack and quickly took out a bottle of black medicine and a syringe, tossing them to Klaus. Klaus caught the syringe and directly injected it into Rodman's arm. Wah! Rodman started to vomit out large mouthfuls of filth. Everyone knew how terrifying the poison of the poison dart frog was. Chun Zhao had said that the black medicine was a life-saving medicine, but they were not very confident. If one was heavily injured, poisoned, or seriously ill, they could all use the black medicine. Rodman kept vomiting. After vomiting out all the food, he started vomiting stomach acid. After vomiting, he started retching. Jazik was also very nervous. What surprised her was that more than 10 minutes had passed and Rodman was still alive. What was that medicine? Could it really cure the poison of the poison dart frog? At the same time, Klaus was also constantly squeezing Rodman's wound, only stopping when red blood flowed out of the wound. "How is it, Rodman? If you're still conscious, answer me." Klaus patted Rodman's cheek. "Captain, if you're gentler, I'll answer you." Whoosh! Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that Rodman could joke. His tone was weak, but it was still coherent. "Nami, Timmies, go check the bodies of the natives. Be careful not to fake death." After checking, they realized that all the natives were dead. However, they could not stay here for long. Even though Rodman was very weak now, they had to find another place to rest. They had to find a place with an open field of vision. Otherwise, they would be easily attacked again. This is a large tribe. After all, there are less than 100,000 primitive natives in the entire Amazon rainforest. Usually, a tribe has no more than 100 people. However, this cannibal tribe actually sent dozens of people to attack us. This can only mean that there are more than 1,000 people in the tribe. A primitive tribe with more than 1,000 people in the Amazon rainforest? Not yet, Jazik said with a serious expression. Chao Shika said with a serious expression. There's another possibility. Those who found them have already been eaten by them. I think it's because of the magnetic field nearby. That's why they can hide here for so long without being discovered. Chapter 1380. They didn't know if the place they chose was safe. Rodman hadn't recovered from his injuries yet. Even with the black potion, Rodman had been poisoned by the poison of the poison dart frog. It was a miracle that he didn't die. Chao Shika was even more worried about her companion. She thought it was just an ordinary native tribe. But now, it seemed that her companion had encountered this ogre tribe. This ogre tribe was not only powerful, but also barbaric. It had to be known that there were many primitive tribes left, and some of them were actually ogre tribes. But after coming into contact with modern human civilization, these tribes had given up on their traditions. But now, they had encountered a tribe that cut off all contact with human society. This meant that they couldn't communicate with them. Under the night sky, Klaus said, "I've decided to explore tonight." "Klaus, isn't this too risky?" "Exploring at night is the best choice," Klaus replied calmly. "No matter how barbaric and bloodthirsty they are still humans, so the night is more advantageous for us." Originally, Klaus planned to have Chao Shika stay in the camp and have Nami stay with her. But Chao Shika wasn't happy about this, so Klaus decided to work together. Chao Shika wasn't a child after all. She had rich combat experience. But in the past 2 or 3 days, Chao Shika had always compared herself to the members of the Lightning team, which hurt her confidence. In fact, she wasn't weak at all. They started to look for traces of the ogres. Such a large ogre tribe would leave more obvious traces than the 7 of them. So Klaus quickly found traces of the ogre tribe. There's drumming in front. The group parted the dense thickets and saw an Inca pyramid in front of them. The pyramid was about 100 meters tall, like a giant Lego toy. It was hard to imagine that it was built by a group of primitive people. A large number of ogres gathered in front of the pyramid. They danced to the sound of the drumming. To be honest, this was a group of natives with no musical talent. In comparison, they were more talented when it came to eating. Among the natives, there were 4 steaming cauldrons. But when they saw the food in the 4 cauldrons, their faces turned green. There were more than 10 people in the 4 cauldrons, both men and women. At this moment, they had already lost their lives. They were like livestock that had their stomachs cut open and their innards cleaned out. Ugh, everyone felt nauseous. This was a resistance that came from the genetic depths of modern humans. Humans do not eat their own kind or similar species because they know that eating their own kind is very risky. Putting aside emotions and ethics, humans were definitely unable to accept their own kind. Even for primates, humans were very resistant to it. This was because almost all primates would get the right disease and transmit it to humans. This was a warning from the genes. Chao Shika's face was already covered in tears because she saw a familiar face. However, she still kept her wits about her and knew that she couldn't let her act willfully at this time. Klaus and the Lightning Squad were also her comrades. Then, an even more cruel scene appeared in front of them. Eat! Even the iron-willed members of the Lightning Squad were avoiding this scene. However, they also discovered a strange phenomenon. In the process of cannibalism, all the members of the cannibal tribe participated, including the babies. As for the babies and children, they didn't have parents to lead them. They were more like the cubs of a wolf pack, selectively eating their own food. "Did you guys notice something strange?" Klaus said in a low voice. "Those brats who managed to snatch the food, they have obvious growth. They're growing too fast. They're starting to go back to their nests to rest. The cannibals started to enter the pyramid. The entire pyramid was like a beehive. Only a small number of cannibals were left guarding the outside of the pyramid. This was an opportunity, a chance for them to sneak into the pyramid. Although the cannibals outside were patrolling, there were many loopholes. After silently killing 2 cannibals, the group came to the side of the pyramid. Klaus suddenly stopped Xiao Shika. Xiao Shika, this might be a trap. What? I don't know, but I feel that the situation is different from what I expected. I still don't understand. Leave this place now and follow the path we took to get here. Wait at the campsite we stayed at before. If we don't come back before dawn, leave the forest immediately and call our boss's phone number. Ask our boss to save us. What? You want me to run away alone? Xiao Shika's expression was very ugly. Klaus wanted her to be a deserter. Xiao Shika, you should understand that if everything goes well, we have a chance to find the people and bring them back. It doesn't matter whether you're here or not. But if things don't go well, I'm afraid we have to choose the backup plan. If we wait for 15 days according to the original plan, I'm afraid we won't last that long. So you're our hope. Klaus looked at Xiao Shika seriously. Xiao Shika looked up at Klaus. Must I leave? Because we're not sure, Klaus said. Klaus said, you've seen the strength of Lightning Team. We don't have the confidence, so we have to be careful and prepare this backup plan. We cleared most of the dangers along the way, so it won't be hard for you to walk out of the forest. Xiao Shika was silent for a while and finally agreed to Klaus's suggestion. She had no reason to stay. Klaus had said that they had reinforcements, and they were strong. Each of them was stronger than her. If their enemies couldn't withstand a single blow, then she could choose to stay and enjoy the joy of victory with everyone. But if they were in trouble, then Xiao Shika had to shoulder her responsibility. Her duty wasn't a fight, but to ask for help. Later, no matter what kind of battle happens, don't come in. All you have to do is say wait patiently. Chapter 1381. Xiao Shika didn't leave immediately. Instead, she hid in the bushes and observed the situation. The battle inside the pyramid soon started. First, there were intense gunshots and explosions. Xiao Shika was hesitant. After all, she was the one who found Klaus. But now Klaus and the Lightning Team stayed while she left. This was very immoral. However, she also knew that she would only be a burden if she stayed. She wouldn't be effective, but Klaus and the others didn't mind. Did you guys realize that this place is very similar to the Crypt Demon's nest? Not just similar, Nami said. It's exactly the same. They were already very familiar with the Crypt Demon's nest. Because of Chun Zhao and the Crypt Demons, they often went in and out of the nest. The pyramid of the Crypt Demon's nest was exactly the same as the one before them. However, the pyramid of the cannibals was much smaller than the Crypt Demon's pyramid. If the specifications and structure are the same, Klaus said in confusion, this pyramid should be bigger than the one we saw. Just then, a group of cannibals charged out. Nami accurately threw a grenade into the group of cannibals. Boom! Instantly, all the cannibals were annihilated. However, they didn't have a lot of ammo. After all, they couldn't carry too much ammo. Therefore, every bullet and grenade they had was extremely precious. Once they ran out of ammo, they wouldn't lose the ability to fight. Instead, it would put them in danger. In the end, they were here to save people. It wasn't a sacrifice. Although there was a famous movie in Hollywood, saving the soldiers was very great and touching. But Klaus definitely wouldn't use his subordinates' lives to save friends. All their efforts now were based on ensuring their own safety. If Kamalari is in the Crypt Demon's nest now, where do you think he'll hide if he wants to stay alive? Klaus made a guess. It's definitely impossible up there, Nami said. The higher up, the smaller the space, and the more Crypt Demons there will be. So he can only be down there. Right down there. Klaus suddenly thought of a possibility. If this pyramid and the Crypt Fiend's pyramid are products of the same era, then there's no reason for the two to have such a huge difference in specifications. The same design should have the same specifications, right? So can we think that this cannibal pyramid actually has a lower layer, but because of tens of thousands of years, the lower layer has sunk into the ground? Left. I remember the lower level of the Crypt Demon Pyramid is in that direction. Nami said, there's a secret door over there. When I went to the Crypt Demon Lair last time, I personally operated it. That means the cannibals don't know the way to the lower levels, Klaus said. It's more likely that the cannibals weren't the ones who built the pyramids. They might have taken over the pyramids. After exterminating a group of cannibals, Nami controlled the mechanism and opened the passage. Just as Klaus had guessed, the cannibals were completely unaware of the existence of this mechanism and the passage. After everyone entered the tunnel, Nami closed the tunnel again. At this moment, everyone heard a sound of movement. Klaus gestured for everyone to switch off the light. It was the footsteps of a man, not a cannibal. He should be about the same height as Temmie's, but he felt a little weak. This person had only approached after hearing the noise. Suddenly, the man felt a heavy blow on his face. Then a strong hand grabbed him and pressed him against the wall. Ah, don't eat me. Don't eat me. The man screamed in terror. Jim? Is that Jim? Klaus asked. Then, you're not cannibals? Who are you talking about? Jim asked in terror. He didn't recognize Klaus' voice. Who's me? I'm talking about Klaus. Klaus turned on the light. Jim stared at Klaus, stunned. Klaus? That's Klaus? Why are you here? Jazuko asked me to save you, Klaus said. Great. You said you were going to save me. I've had enough of this place. The darkness, emptiness, despair, and hunger. Do you know how I survive these days? I could only catch rats to eat. Jim cried tears of joy. He was so excited that he was finally saved. Where's Kamalari? Him? He was captured on the first day we found this place. He should have been eaten by the cannibals long ago. No, Jazuko said that she's been communicating with Kamalari for the past few days. That's impossible, Jim shouted. I saw Kamalari being captured by the cannibals with my own eyes. For a moment, the problem became complicated. Of course, there was a simple explanation. Was Jazuko lying to them? But emotionally, they didn't believe that Jazuko was lying to them, because betrayal was the most intolerable thing in the world. But now wasn't the time to make a conclusion. Captain, don't be suspicious of Jazuko. She doesn't have the motive, Nami said. Are you sure? Now there are 3 possibilities. One is that Mr. Jim is lying. I'm not lying. Of course, this possibility is the lowest, Nami said. The second possibility is what everyone guessed. Jazuko is the real culprit, but I think this possibility is very low. I don't think Jazuko is lying. Why? Because of the third possibility, Nami said. After seeing the cannibals here, I've been guessing. Actually, I suspected Jazuko before. You suspected Xiao Shika before? That's right. I had my doubts until I met Mr. Jim. Then why didn't you tell us? Because it wasn't necessary, Nami said disapprovingly. First, I wasn't sure if I was right. Second, even if she really was the traitor and contacted our president, she would be the one in trouble. Of course, after seeing Mr. Jim and hearing about the situation here, I'm even more sure that Jazuko isn't the traitor. She only said that she was tricked. What exactly happened? Everyone couldn't help but ask. There's no traitor. Chapter 1382. First of all, I thought about a problem. Such a large area of magnetic field interference. I originally thought that it was natural, but the natural magnetic field would not have such a strong electromagnetic reaction. Even the sabers we carry are magnetized, so I suspect that it is a man-made strong magnetic field, Nami said. Everyone was in a trance. They didn't notice this, and they had been to some special areas before where strong magnetic fields also occurred, so they didn't take it to heart. Besides, we've been walking for 2.5 days, and the nearest populated place is no more than 150 kilometers away. It's impossible for these cannibals to be so close and completely isolated from the world. So I suspect that someone has already discovered this place and even has some kind of connection with the cannibals to help them hide this secret. Maybe this person is the real culprit behind all this, and someone deliberately led you here. At the same time, after they caught Kamalali, they didn't kill him immediately, but used him to send a message to Xiao Shika, asking her to find more prey. Nami paused and said, "There's another important reason why I said that Xiao Shika is not a suspect. This place is surrounded by a magnetic field, and radio and satellite phones can't be used. If Xiao Shika arranged all this, why would she set up such an obvious trap? It can only be because she doesn't know the situation here at all." Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that they had fallen into a trap. But after hearing that Xiao Shika was not a suspect, everyone was relieved. After all, everyone got along well with Xiao Shika, and they had a good impression of her. They didn't want someone they had been getting along well with to be an enemy. There's another piece of evidence. I found human bones outside that were discarded after being eaten. Many of them were 30 or 40 years old, but there were no bones older than 30 years old. This means that the cannibals may have only appeared here 30 or 40 years ago. Nami continued, "It's possible that someone moved them here and then attracted explorers and adventurers from the outside world to get enough food to feed the cannibals. New Bali Town, which is the closest to this place, is a gathering place for mercenaries and explorers, and it's full of illegal immigrants. Even if the cannibals disappear, the government won't notice them. However, their complicated interpersonal relationships can attract more outsiders, and the real culprit behind the scenes will lure people in." Jim's scalp went numb. In other words, we were all lured in here to be meat for the cannibals. You could say that. Then what should we do? Klaus, can you take me out? Let's wait, Klaus said helplessly. I hope Xiao Shika can leave the forest safely. She will definitely be able to leave safely. Nami said, "We've eliminated all the dangers along the way. There won't be anything that can pose too much of a threat to her in the short term. Secondly, whether she's the real culprit or not, she can leave safely. If she's not, then the real culprit hopes that she can attract more people. If she is, it'll be even easier for her to leave. Klaus, why aren't you guys nervous at all? Even if Xiao Shika can leave safely, she'll only attract more people here, and it won't change our situation at all. Maybe I need to worry about other things, but there's no need to worry about this at all. Just stay here for a few days. Add some powder from demon bones, Samatha, add some demon blood, Kasima, scales of deep-sea staghorn fish, Sahara." Morad kept chanting incantations in the laboratory, adding every ingredient with extreme care. In front of Morad, there was a container. In addition to various magic materials, there was also a green plant in the middle of the container. With the addition of various magic materials and Morad chanting an incantation, the turquoise plant began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. When it reached 30 centimeters, it withered, leaving only a seed floating in the liquid. But it repeated the process again. Germination, growth, wither, and so on. Moore leaned against the window, watching Morad's experiment in the laboratory. He was Morad's best friend in the association, and could be considered Morad's little follower. He admired Morad for becoming the second person to pass the first level of the Tower of Trials other than the association's Big Three. Ever since Morad achieved this, he had been working even harder. He put more energy into training, improving magic plants, and improving his own strength. "Ha! I did it, Morad suddenly shouted excitedly. The original emerald green plant had turned into a silvery white plant that was several meters tall. There were a dozen fist-sized white fruits hanging on the silver white plant. "Morad, what are you cultivating now?" "Hand of Iago." "I know. In Norse mythology, Iago is the god of the forest. But what effect does this hand of Iago have?" "In Norse mythology, Iago is the son of the goddess of the four seasons. He controls the elements of the four seasons and herds all the forests in the world. The hand of Iago I made is the winter banisher." Morad plucked a white fruit from the silver white plant and peeled it, revealing the seeds inside. Let me see the effect. Go outside." Morad put away all the fruits. He had spent a whole 3 months to make them. He had spent about $300,000 on research and experiments, so Morad did not dare to waste anything. Each fruit had about 100 seeds, and Morad helped to harvest the seeds. The two came to an empty space outside. Morad took out a seed and chanted an incantation. The seed fell to the ground. Cold sweat began to appear on Mord's forehead. The seed quickly sprouted and soon grew to a height of nearly 5 meters. But the tree did not bear fruit. But the temperature around it began to plummet. The treetops swayed gently, and snow began to fall. A few meters around it was covered in a layer of frost. Then, 3 snowmen stood up from the snow. "What's the use of these 3 snowmen? They look so weak," Mort said, puzzled. The 3 snowmen shook, and the snow fell, turning into 3 ice crystal people. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.